Neil is using the restroom. We'll be live shortly.
NFL is back, and this is the Stokastic deeper dive for the first Thursday night football showdown slate of the year, Rams and Bills. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Alex Baker. You can find him on Twitter at AwesomoDFS. This show is produced by Jordan Klein, and our sponsor today is No House Advantage, which I would highly recommend checking out No House Advantage immediately, because we are looking at some crazy overlay tonight. I just looked at the main contest. It's like 20% full right now with 2 hours to go. So if you have not yet checked out No House Advantage, I would highly recommend going and checking it out right now. Alex, are you excited for football to be back?
No, I just never got into it.
Not a fan of the game.
No, I mean the prize pools, like they're big, but they're so hard to win, like I'd rather stick to League of Legends DFS.
Oh, okay. So you do like some, I was thinking that maybe you're just not really a DFS guy, but you do like some forms of DFS apparently. Okay.
No, of course we're all very excited for NFL, and I personally I need a little bit of luck to break my way in some DFS. So having a new sport start, that's always exciting.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Baseball has not been going my way at all so far this year. So looking forward to getting into some football.
You know who like crushed it and won $1 million the other day is have you met Jamie Steed?
I had
Yeah.
not met Jamie, and then Steve Buzzard reached out and told me, "Hey, this guy Jamie is going to be joining the Stokastic team, and he just won the Millie Maker. You should talk to him." So I followed him on Twitter. We started talking a little bit. He seems like a really sharp player and a really nice guy. Happy for him.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going ham on all the NFL Week 1 stuff,
I mean, you have
because
to, right?
that's
Following
what
a
you
Millie
do
Maker.
after you win $1 million, right?
Yeah, that's what you got to do. And spoiler alert, I've already asked Jamie to come on high stakes. He's been crushing
Hell
DFS
yeah.
all year, so really looking forward to talking to Jamie on camera in interview form. Guys, if you haven't already done so, please, before we get started on the show, give us a like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. Be sure to also check out today's free premium tools and data, which are MLB player projections and our all new NFL lineup generator, which is free for week 1 only. You can find that link in the video description below. And if you're still playing MLB DFS, don't forget that everything we have to offer for MLB night slates on DraftKings is also 100% free for the remainder of the season, which gives you a great chance to give our tools a shot before purchasing. Just click the DK Night Owl link below to check out tonight's tools and projections. We're going to actually look at that NFL lineup generator at the end of the show. I think we're going to try to find some time to take a look at it, because we're pretty excited about that new tool that people can use to make lineups great lineups really quickly. So that's a pretty fun new tool at the site. And I think you know about it better than anybody. You worked on the tool, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting for Showdown because like obviously in classic slates, like a lot of the energy we spend is picking the best plays, but like in Showdown, my mantra is you gotta find the right lineup for the contest that you're entering. So it's like my Millie Maker lineups. It's like these are when pigs fly lineups. Well, like any other contest, you gotta be a little bit more realistic. So yeah, it's like it will help you find the right lineup for the contest that you're in.
All right, well, let's talk about that a little bit. So let's start talking just a little bit of Showdown strategy. What are some tools or tricks that you use to make good GPP lineups? We got a 350,000 person contest today on DraftKings. Are you even going to bother avoiding duplicates? I mean, is it even worth it? We're all going to be duped a million times, right? Or do you have some tricks to avoid duping? Anything that you want to share?
You already know I got the tricks. And guys, I wrote an article on this. Just go to stokastic.com/NFL, released today. Got some new tips. Let me drop it in the chat real quick because it was pretty interesting where I know like you don't want to chop a lot of ways, and we have these sims that kind of power the top showdown plays tools and the top stacks. That's Stokastic. So I ran some sims on a Millie Maker contest that happened in 2021. And it really was striking the correlation between the number of duplications your lineup has and the ROI of that lineup. So, like, the problem is, like, these lineups that get entered so many times, like, clearly they're the ones that everyone's looking at your lineup and you're like, this lineup kicks ass, like, that's, like, not the kind of lineup that's a good lineup in Showdown necessarily. You want to be like, well, maybe when you look at your lineup. So, we can get into some specifics for tonight's slate.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, so you mean your expected ROI, not your actual ROI, is what you're looking at, correct?
Yeah, just like what our simulated ROI is.
Okay.
So, like in the actual article, like it's very difficult to create a lineup that has a chance to win that is not duplicated in the contest like the Millie Maker. And for that reason, like the problem is there's just a lot of smart people that you're playing against at the same time. So it's more realistic to shoot for something that's a little bit off the board. But it's just really avoiding that top bucket of popular lineups. And then you can get your chance at a big payday. So if you can find a lineup that has a chance, like the way I kind of test the lineup is, can you think of like a box score where your lineup would be the best possible lineup? If not, then maybe you don't want to enter that one. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you got to find lineups that have a shot, but maybe aren't duplicated. I was looking at a lineup from last September that was duplicated 231 times. So even in a Millie Maker, each of those 231 people won $6,000. So they got everything right. It was the perfect lineup. Got extremely lucky, and they each won $6,000 in a Millie Maker, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you put 15, 20 bucks into it, you're perfect. You're happy to win 6,000 bucks. But you could win a lot more without really sacrificing that much in terms of odds of winning. So anyway, let's get into this slate a little bit. We've talked about a little bit of the strategy, but I want to talk about the Rams. We'll start at the top. Tell me your interest level in Matthew Stafford, both as a captain play and as a flex play.
Yeah, I think with quarterbacks, like they are one of the more consistent scoring positions. So it's always a staple of my lineups, like in both captain and flex. With Stafford, he doesn't really run the ball at all. So that'll be a reason why you might put him in the flex and then captain up one of his receivers, because there is so much correlation there. And Cooper Kupp, like, is like it's like, will Stafford outscore Kupp or will Kupp outscore Stafford? Like most of the time, it's going to be the receiver. So, but that being said, there are, like, if you put Stafford in at captain, like you're going to want like several of the Rams skill players in at flex, because he's going to need to dish it out like to a bunch of different people for that to work.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I said the same. I also wrote my first ever written piece for Stokastic, first ever written piece on fantasy sports today. I talked about this slate a little bit, and I said the same thing. Matthew Stafford, because he doesn't really do anything on the ground, you probably need a couple of pass catchers with him. Would you ever play Matthew Stafford today with just one pass catcher? Would you consider doing that? I should say in the captain spot.
Yeah, I think that lineup construction is probably not the best. So that's something I'd much rather consider with Josh Allen, because like every point counts so much, because like you need your captain to be the highest scorer when they are a high priced player like Stafford. So one of the tools we have on the site that helps us solve these problems, because they're not easy to just like kind of intuit. You gotta like look at the numbers, and we run the sims. So the top showdown play tool like it tells you both the odds in our sims that each player will finish top scorer and also second to sixth place, which that would be like a great flex play. So Stafford we have at 10% of being the top scorer and 75% of being one of the top six scorers, but not first. So that does make having him at the flex seem a little bit better, but it's all about the overall lineup construction.
Okay, so in general, you're preferring Stafford in the flex spot, but I'm sure you're gonna have some Stafford captain lineups as well, or MVP lineups on FanDuel.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. For FanDuel is a different situation because it's much easier for the quarterbacks to outscore the receivers on FanDuel with 0.5 PPR. So he has about double the chance of being the highest scoring player on FanDuel compared to DraftKings. So that's a good point that like it's hard to give blanket advice because these sites are quite different.
So I was actually going to bring that up to you. I sort of had a moment while I did a VOD earlier today where I was talking about FanDuel and I was saying you could set a group where if you have Matthew Stafford in a flex spot on FanDuel, you're probably going to want at least one pass catcher with him. And then I remembered, wait, Alex Baker, there was a slate last year where I don't think you ended up winning. You might have actually won with a quarterback who was not a running quarterback, was your only player from one of the teams, and you at least came close to winning. So is that something you consider doing on FanDuel? Would you consider having Stafford in your lineup without any pass catchers on FanDuel?
Yeah, definitely. So I think like the situation where this works best is when you're stacking the Bills and you need to pick the highest scoring Rams player to win the contest that night. And quarterbacks to like put up like a pretty steady stream of points by just getting passing yards. So it is there are a lot of days where Stafford's going to end with like 250, 300 yards and the Rams will have a dud. So that can be enough to win.
Okay. Yeah, I was questioning that. I was like, yeah, I guess if Alex did it, I got to think it's got to be possible for that to be the winning lineup. Of course, we all make mistakes too, so I wanted to double check with you, but I thought that was probably something that you did intentionally. So maybe that's something that you should keep in mind. You can play quarterbacks as the only play from a team, even if they don't run a lot. Larry C. So I said in my article, one way that I recommend getting different is having two running backs from the same team. We haven't really gotten to running backs yet, so I guess we could discuss this a little bit more when we get there. But just different constructions as ways to get different. And one way I like to do it is a lot of people shy away from playing two running backs from the same team because they assume, or when they put a running back into the lineup, they're hoping that running back is going to be the bell cow. But sometimes two running backs can both get there, and those are lower owned lineups. Is that something that you ever do, Alex?
Absolutely, yes, because there's a lot of games where like if one team dominates, they're gonna have 30 rushing attempts or more. And usually coaches like to limit touches for running backs to about 20, excluding certain instances like Derrick Henry. So like if we have Cam Akers and Henderson, like the more rushing attempts Akers gets, the more rushing attempts Darrell Henderson is going to get most likely. So like there is like another correlation that okay, so if one of them is more preferential by the coach, then they might get like a higher percentage than you're expecting. So those two factors kind of even out.
Okay. Interesting. So it's a fairly neutral correlation there. That's kind of what I was wondering. I said in the article that this isn't something that I've researched at all. I just think that the negative correlation isn't as much as the field believes it to be, and I'm glad to hear that you'll back me up on that. That maybe it's not the negative correlation that the field treats it as. Anything else you want to say about Matthew Stafford before we move on to his receiving options?
Nothing really to say about Stafford. I guess the only question is, can the Rams do it again?
Can they do it again? Yeah, I think they can do it again. Do you think so?
Okay. I don't know. That's what I was asking you.
I don't want them to do it again. I mean, I prefer having a new champion every year, unless obviously if it's the Vikings, I prefer it's just the Vikings every year. But yeah, I don't think I'll be cheering for the Rams, even though I like the Rams as a team. It's a fun team. I still don't think that I'm really going to be cheering for them this year. But yeah, I think they're good enough. They certainly could do it again. All right, so that's all we have to say about Stafford. But of course, we'll be tying him in, I'm sure, somewhat to the discussion of these Rams wide receivers. Let's just go down the list. Tell me to what extent you have interest in different wide receivers. I guess we can start at the top with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cup, phenomenal year last year. I didn't know exactly what to expect like going into this year. I think the most likely scenario is that he's not quite as good as he was last year, not because like the team has really changed a ton, but just because that was such an outlier, and I just don't think that's like necessarily sustainable. And the Vegas markets seem to indicate that he's not gonna be averaging like more than 100 yards per game, but he'll be close. So like still probably one of the top receivers in the league. It's gonna be like anyone's game between him, like in Jefferson and Chase, who's gonna lead the league in receiving. But Cup, he definitely has the best odds in my book.
Yeah, I went with plenty of Kupp in best ball. I think that he did so much last year that you have to think that he's probably favored to be the top receiver this year. Once again, of course, I'm hoping that it's Justin Jefferson, but I mean, Kupp has got to be the favorite there. Yeah, we've got him in the optimal lineup 52% of the time, captain 13.8% of the time. He's looking like he's a little bit under-owned as a captain. I think you're going to be playing a lot of Kupp in the captain spot.
Cup, I think there's more than like one reason why I like Cup at captain, like because one of the things I like to do, especially in the large field tournaments, is leave money on the table. And if you're going to do that to any significant extent, you need to have the highest scoring player in at the captain. So like getting one of those top guys and then just trying to cut some corners with the rest of the positions is usually a good strategy. But actually, now I'm looking at it, like his salary is pretty high, so it might be hard to make a good lineup without really capping out there.
I'm hearing that people are saying that my mic is too quiet. It looks like it is at full volume now. I guess I'll try to speak up a little bit. It sounds so loud in my headphones that I'm speaking quietly because it's really loud to me. All right. So after Kupp, I think the next best option most likely is going to be Allen Robinson. He's at 6,200. Do you think that's a misprice for him?
No, I mean, it's fair compared to his production last year, where he only averaged 7 fantasy points. So like I think we all know his season last year was a disaster, and he just like the Bears. Wait, he was on the Bears, right? I'm like looking at this game log and saying at Chicago. Yeah.
He was
I don't know
Bears.
why it says that. Okay, so Justin Fields, like not a very efficient passer, and then Dalton to start the year, like they just didn't have good quarterback play in Chicago. So I'm expecting that going from playing with Dalton and Fields to Stafford should really improve Allen Robinson's production. And it seems like everyone's pretty bullish on him, keeping in mind like what we saw last year, that he's gonna have a really big year compared to that.
I think in my mind, he's just like 1-for-1 replacing OBJ. Am I off base there?
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. Like I don't remember OBJ being like that great, but he did have some good playoff games. So I think that was fair. But yeah, I think he's a good play. He's definitely at the price, a great one. So Allen Robinson looks like a good person to target today.
One of our more under-owned captains. He's the optimal captain 13% of the time in the Stokastic simulations. He's only owned 9.6% of the time in the captain spot. So he's looking really good in utility spot as well, 43% optimal there. So Robinson obviously looking great. And then we get into the really interesting options for the Rams because because Van Jefferson is out. So now we have to look at some of these tertiary options in Tutu, Atwell, and Ben Scaronick primarily. Where do you break that down? How much interest do you have in Ben Scaronick and or Tutu Atwell?
Yeah, I think Scaronick is definitely the safer play because we saw games last year where he did get like a significant workload. I'm kind of looking at the box scores here, but there's one game where he played 76% of the snaps and a couple others where he's around 50%. So that's better than Tutu Atwell, who was injured most of the last season and I don't remember if he played. He didn't get any offensive snaps, it looks like. So, the one thing working in Atwell's favor is just that he was a high draft pick. So, it wouldn't be surprising if he does shine now that he's recovered from his injury. But Scaronick definitely seems like the safer option.
Okay, I'm going to throw one more name at you. We have Lance McCutchen at 1.34 fantasy points projection. He was he was pretty good in the preseason. You think there's any chance that we get anything out of Lance McCutchen today?
I think, well, what I'm kind of waiting for is the inactives. I think that for the Rams, that'll be a question is, does he play? But in general, I think that you're getting too cute even a milli maker if you target someone like Lance McCutchen, and it's better to go with a more balanced lineup build.
Okay, interesting. I was thinking about playing some Lance McCutchen. I probably won't play. Maybe I'll play a couple lineups because I like to just throw darts on some of these crazy picks. But hopefully he's just inactive, so I don't even have to think about playing him. That's really what I want to happen here.
Yeah.
All right.
One other guy that like the running back situation in LA is going to be pretty interesting because there's there's this guy Kyron Williams who Adam Schefter has been steaming up today apparently, and I've never really heard of the guy. It looks like he's a 5th-round pick this year, so that will be one of the situations where like, is he going to be active? What do you make of that?
That's the most interesting inactive to you. Yeah, so I don't really have an opinion on Kyron Williams. If he's not inactive, he's probably a guy that I'm going to take some dart throws at just because we need to find some players here. I think we have a lot of cheap options who actually project pretty well in Tutu Atwell. We'll talk about Isaiah McKenzie later, Ben Scaronick. So we have some cheap options, but I think they're all going to get some ownership. So we got to find kind of some of these guys. I think for a milli, for a 150 set in a large field GPP, some guys that I might consider taking a few shots on. I think that he would be in that group if he is active today. All right, so let's just move right into the Rams running backs. I think we covered the wide receivers pretty well, unless there's any other wide receivers that you want to throw out there.
Nope, I don't see anyone.
All right, then let's move right on to Rams running backs. Cam Akers is back, coming from an Achilles injury. Running backs often don't recover well from Achilles injuries. Are you expecting him to just take over and be the bell cow back? Do you have a read on this running back room with Akers, with Darrell Henderson, and then, as you mentioned, Kyron Williams?
Well, the word on the street was that Akers and Henderson are going to have a pretty even split. I think that like the Achilles thing, like it's been long enough that he's probably healed. Like it's been 7 months since the Super Bowl, and I think that the new Achilles surgeries they're doing on guys these days, which is how he was able to recover so quickly. Like I think the days of an Achilles being like a season-ending injury may be behind us, fortunately. So I'm cautiously optimistic that Cam Akers will be able to have a good season. But in DFS, I think he's just kind of like an average play today. Nothing too exciting because I think there is going to be a pretty significant split here.
Yeah, we're expecting him to get a pretty good amount of ownership, 19% in the utility spot, 3.7% in the captain spot, looking slightly over-owned in both those places. What about Darrell Henderson then? If you're thinking that Cam Akers is going to be over-owned despite the split, do you think Darrell Henderson somebody might want to play?
Yeah, I think Akers isn't. He's just more expensive, which is why I think Henderson looks like a good play compared to him. Where Henderson's only 4,800 on DraftKings compared to 8K, 9K on FanDuel compared to 12.5K. So if we're projecting 40% for Henderson and 60% for Akers, or maybe it's like 55, 35, and then Kyron Williams mixes in a little bit, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that Henderson's definitely the better play, but I think the best option might be just fading the running backs of the Rams altogether. What do you think?
I mean, I think that I'm not going to be full fading the Rams running back room, but I think that I will have a lot of lineups that don't have any Rams running backs in them.
Yeah.
You brought up Kyron Williams. Think you're going to be playing any of him today if he is active?
I'm trying to read some tea leaves with that one where I think he'll probably be active. I'm bumping him up a little bit in the projections here. But I tend to try to avoid these guys with the like projections of like 1 or 2 fantasy points just because I feel like there's better options.
All right. Anything else that you want to say about Rams running backs at all, other than you're probably going to be fading them largely?
Just there's a small chance that Jake Funk is active instead of Kyron Williams, so I don't think that would really make a huge difference.
All right. Then let's move on. And before we talk about the tight ends, let me tell you, football season has finally arrived, which means that you will be able to take advantage of one of our best deals of the year. Click the link in the description of this video below, or use promo code SCRAMBLE. That's all caps SCRAMBLE at checkout to get 7 days of Stokastic plus NFL for only $7. That's 70% off the original price. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools for NFL DFS that we have to offer on Stokastic.com, including our all new lineup generator, player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, our boom bust tool, and so much more. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and is not included in our base packages, but can easily be added at checkout. This offer will be valid through Tuesday, September 13th. All right, now we get into the fun stuff. This is a showdown slate. Everybody knows about tight ends on Showdown. Let's talk about these Rams tight ends. I guess we should start. I guess Tyler Higbee, he's probably the less fun Rams tight end to talk about, but let's start there.
Wait, hold on. It's like Herbert in chat, he's like, shill it up. Like, dude, this is $7 for a package that's like, what is it? $7 instead of like $30 or something. So you're saving 70%. That's like it's like we're giving you deals that you should not kind of ignore here. But okay,
Herbert has been talking shit the entire show, so I wouldn't worry too much about Herbert.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Herbert.
All right, well, we're shot callers, so we got call and Tyler Higbee, like, yeah, he did pretty average last year. I'm kind of expecting that again, and he's definitely a guy that you can throw in any Rams lineup and be pretty safe.
Yeah, he was a guy that I was high on last year. I thought they were going to be going to him in volume with Gerald Everett gone, and it did not pan out that way. But yeah, he's in the captain optimal spot 2.4% of the time, util optimal spot 21.2% of the time. He looks like a fine play to me. I'll probably have Higbee in a fair number of my lineups at 5,600 on DraftKings, but not somebody that really stands out to me, not somebody that I wrote about in my article today as somebody that I'm really targeting. The guy that we really want to talk about, I'm sure you love Bryson Hopkins today, right?
Yeah, I remember one Showdown slate where he might have made the optimal just out of nowhere, but I think he's a million maker play only probably, but someone that we are expecting to at least see the field.
Okay. I missed a super chat from Saif Din asking, hi, I have a lineup where I have 4,800 left over. Is that too crazy?
Well, it's not crazy in a million maker and other in contests, and I probably wouldn't enter that lineup, like even if it's really good. So, I think that leaving money on the table is more of like a super large field strategy. Although I can am looking at some of my lineups, and I do have some lineups that leave a lot on the table that I'm entering and everything. So I think if you feel really confident in it, then like I think it's okay. But in general, that isn't really something I'm trying to force.
Yeah, 4,800 is a good number. Is a high number, I would say, for me. That it's much more than I typically leave on the table. I haven't created my lineups yet for this slate. I said in my article that I would probably generally on a slate like this not leave more than 5,000 on the table. So I guess that's within that range, but it is a little bit more than I would typically leave on the table, because you just have to think at each of those positions, is there somebody that is just really likely to outscore that player? And then in combo, if you look at each player, like in combo, or the players that you could get in there, all going to be under the players that you have, do worse than the players you have in your lineup. So it's a little bit much for me, but in a milli maker, if you want to have a totally unique lineup, you probably have it with 4,800 left over.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we talked about Higbee, we talked about Bryson. And anybody else that do you want to say anything else about Rams tight ends here?
Those are the only two that projecting to play right now. So
okay. So you are kind of a huge kicker fan in Showdown, right? You almost always have more than the field. That's not probably true that you always have more than the field, but we say that you do. Let's talk about both the Rams defense and kicker here. How much interest do you have?
A lot. I mean, I always love defense and kicker. One note, FanDuel has defenses this year now, so I'm also targeting defenses on FanDuel. Well, I'll start with kicker Matt Gay. Like the projection for field goals for this game, Vegas has it at just over 1.5. So more than half the time you're getting 2 or more field goals, and that's generally enough to put up a great value for the salary. So I think that Matt Gay is a great option. And then with the Rams defense, like this is definitely a situation where like both teams are very good offenses. So defenses, it seems like kind of counterintuitive to play them, but that can be like one of the best times to play them because they're low owned, and at the captain spot, like defense is one of the few low price like spots that can put up the highest score of the evening. So with the Rams defense, we have them as a 1% shot at being the highest scoring option at captain. So that is not insignificant in a contest that pays out $1 million to first.
Yeah, I'm a fan of these. And okay, I'll pose this question to you. Would you ever play the Rams defense in a lineup that has Josh Allen in it?
I wouldn't rule it out. It's definitely something that like if I'm playing that lineup, but like Josh Allen's probably going to be the only Bills player I have where I'm like kind of doing a 5 stack of the Rams and running it back with Josh Allen, just because you have to pick one Bill in a stack of Rams, and Josh Allen's probably the safest option, even if you do have the defense.
Okay. We are getting some questions about FanDuel, so I just want to touch on a couple of FanDuel questions. Joseph C asked for the best contrarian MVP on FanDuel. Do you have an opinion on that?
I would say like the defense probably. I don't have a great sense of how high they're going to be owned, but like I'm guessing not very much. So if I'm going contrarian, like the defense at captain, just because like there like on FanDuel, there's about double the chance that they're the highest scoring because it is half point PPR. So I think that could surprise everyone.
Even with the lack of a multiplier for the salary?
Oh yeah, I mean that's why they're low owned, is because there's no multipliers. So I think that like that's why it's contrarian, and like the half point PPR, like defense scores exactly the same on FanDuel as DraftKings. So relative to all the other positions, it's stronger on FanDuel. The like 1.5x multiplier on DraftKings like is not on FanDuel, so that's like a knock against these. But I think that the chance that they finish as the highest scoring, like in comparison, Gabe Davis, we have a 2.4% chance, and the Rams are 1.7%. So it's kind of in that middle tier of players, and people really don't understand that.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely would not have considered playing one of these defenses in the MVP spot on FanDuel, but I will definitely think about it now, because to me, it's so hard to fathom a defense being the highest scoring play in this game. But I guess it probably is, as you said, it's just more likely than we imagine it to be. If a defense scores a touchdown, if they score 2 touchdowns, that means that's probably less scoring for the offenses. So it's a really interesting play. Yeah, I'll have to think about playing some.
In general, like defenses, okay, so like in an average NFL game, you can look at the props, but defense special teams is about 2-1 to score a touchdown, like one of the two. So that means each is about 5-1 to score a touchdown. And then that's like a 16% chance. So the odds of a defense scoring 2 touchdowns, that's in the low single digits, which is not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. All right, we got a super chat from Justin Alberto asking thoughts on this single entry lineup: captain Josh Allen, and then at flex he's got Cooper Kupp, Matt Gay, Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, and Allen Robinson for a single entry. How do you feel about that? I assume this is a GPP.
Okay, so Josh Allen with Allen Robinson and Kupp are both on the Rams. Mckenzie and Davis are on the Bills, right? I'm
Yeah.
trying to like in my head, like
Yeah,
I
so
would
we've got
say
Josh Allen in the captain with two of his receivers in Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie. And then we have two Rams receivers in Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp. And then we've got the Rams kicker. I will say this is a bad sign that I see below him in Jack. Kevin Lesniewski says, Justin, I have that exact lineup in single entry. That's not a good sign in a large field GPP if you're trying to avoid dupes, seeing somebody else in chat with the same lineup.
that's true. I think that they're all like pretty chalk plays, but like I also think that if Kupp and Kupp and Robinson are the two like highest projected and highest priced receivers on the Rams. So it almost makes me want to captain Matthew Stafford in this lineup instead of Josh Allen because you're just allocating a lot more money to Rams
that idea.
receivers than Bills.
Yeah, it doesn't really change all that much, except it takes some salary off the table. So you're leaving salary on the table. I think you're a lot less likely to be duped, but you still have that great correlation with Stafford at the captain spot and two of his receivers. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Any concerns there? If you have Stafford in the captain with two of his receivers, any concern that leaves not enough opportunity for Matt Gay to be putting up points?
Well, I think I do prefer the kicker in like a stack, but they're pretty much plug and play in any lineup where I think there's not much correlation between all the players. If you get Matt Gay, you're kind of betting against like all the cheapies going off tonight. So like if all three of the Rams players have a pretty good day, then he's probably going to be in at least that 8-point range if I had to guess.
Okay. Yeah, and we see Chilio824 in chat adds, no joke, had the same lineup also. So it's probably a lineup that I would, if a lot of people are getting to it instinctively, it's a lineup that I would avoid in a large field GPP. All right, Alex, anything else you want to say about the Rams before we move on to the Bills?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right, guys, we'll tell you our opinions on the Bills, but first, let me tell you about our sponsor, No House Advantage. No House Advantage is bringing you the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. Play in pick'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $150,000 plus in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, and climb the leaderboard when you make correct picks. Test your skills versus the house and 20 extra entry fee if you hit all of your picks. Bet up to 5 player props, over-unders, or individual player matchups across every major sports league, including NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. Sign up now with promo code Stokastic. That's STOKASTIC at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app in the App Store to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $25. Be sure to also check out our NFL lineup generator for No House Advantage, which you can find in the video description below. Daily fantasy sports has been redefined with No House Advantage. Check it out now. And I want to check the overlay there because just before the show, I was looking at the overlay and No House Advantage, and it was kind of insane. And I think that I will be joining this contest because you got to chase this kind of overlay. Currently, the big No House Advantage contest, which is $20,000 to first, is only 24% full with a little over an hour left. So I'm going to be chasing that overlay after the show, assuming I'm able, if I can play in Minnesota. I'm not actually 100% sure that I can, but I love me some overlay. So I will be joining No House Advantage after the show.
Yeah, so if you go on the Stokastic website under NFL projections, you can click the NHA NFL optimal lineups, and like we already have all the best lineups created for everyone. It like refreshes every 2 minutes with some randomness so that we don't all have the same lineups, but like some really good lineups using our projections. You just pop that in the CSV and go over to No Host Advantage, and you can easily take advantage of all that overlay. So one note is one of our top props is James Cook under. If you don't if a player is inactive or doesn't get a snap, this gets 0 points, even though the under technically you'd think it might hit.
Really?
But props, like in a sports book, it gets canceled if the guy doesn't play. The no house advantage, you get a 0. So I'm gonna wait and see if James Cook is active, just because there is a chance. The Bills ran with 2 running backs a lot of games last year, so that is in the back of my mind that there's a possibility he doesn't play.
Okay, and we should be finding that out in about 6 minutes is usually when
Nice.
inactives will come out. So we'll find out if James Cook is active. The player prop there is 30.5 rushing yards. Let me just ask you about one more player prop. Josh Allen, let's see the player prop here. So Josh Allen has several different options. Tell me if you like any of these, the over or the under for 280.5 passing yards, 40.5 rushing yards, 2.5 total touchdowns, or 0.5 interceptions. Any of those jump out to you as something that you have a clear over or under?
So Josh Allen under passing yards is one that I like. The math just doesn't seem to work out for this one because, like, okay, let's look at last year. He only averaged about 7 yards per pass, like 6.8 actually. There was one game where it was like super, super windy, but he only averaged 260 yards per game. And he averaged 284 the year prior. So he definitely has it in the range of outcomes, but last year is pretty predictive. The Bills, they there's not really much reason to think the Bills passing game is going to be a lot better this year because they have a lot of the same guys, minus Cole Beasley, who actually was pretty efficient from what I remember. So I think that the math just doesn't get me to 280 for Josh Allen.
Okay, well this will be an easy segue. Let's start talking about Josh Allen for this DFS slate. Tell me about your interest level in Josh Allen as a captain or as a flex play.
I think he's one of the best just because like he obviously he's a great fantasy scorer, like rushing the ball and passing. The Bills do pass a ton, so we have them at passing about 62%, which is one of the higher marks in the league. So a lot of plays, like there's only going to be a few plays in the game, like 15 plays. We have projected other people scoring points other than Josh Allen, but that means there's like 45 plays that Josh Allen's going to be the guy scoring points. So I like that. And then with the receivers, Gabe Davis has kind of emerged as a good second option. So that means Diggs is a little bit less likely to like just dominate fantasy wise, which helps Josh Allen.
Yeah, that definitely makes me like Josh Allen a little bit better. The less concentrated he is to his individual receivers makes it easier to like Allen in the captain spot. All right, do you want to jump right in and talk about those receivers, or anything else you want to say about Josh Allen first?
And just kind of reiterating what we said earlier, but a guy like Josh Allen's better at the captain spot compared to Stafford because there's just a higher chance that he outscores the receivers.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Much better spot there. All right, well, let's start at the top with Stefan Diggs. As you said, he might be losing some volume with Gabe Davis kind of emerging as a true number 2, maybe even a 1B. I don't know if we're quite there yet. Let's talk about Diggs though. With Gabe Davis possibly cutting into his target share, how much interest do you have in Stefan Diggs?
I think he's like still an awesome player. I mean, he's had a couple of years where he's been like one of the best wide receivers in the league. So there's really no reason. I think that will stop today. So I think he's definitely top of my list as far as uh the top options, although it's just a little bit hard today between like Cobb Allen, Stafford, Diggs, like the hierarchy that you go with today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean Diggs looks pretty good. He's coming in at captain optimal 13.9% of the time relative to being owned 12.6% of the time at the captain spot, and he's in the utility 51.3% of the time relative to 44.2% projected ownership there. So definitely some interest for me as well. And then Gabe Davis. So we don't really know how this is going to break down at this point. He ended his year last year with a 3 touchdown game. Was that, maybe that wasn't his last game of the year? I don't know. He had a huge game right at the end there. How much interest do you have in Gabe Davis in this matchup?
I think that Gabe Davis, I'd say I'm a little bit more tepid than average compared to like the market, just because it does seem to be based a lot on this one game. Cole Beasley is off the team though, and that means there's going to be more targets to go around because he got targeted at a decent rate. So I think there's reason to believe that Gabe Davis could be better this year than last year. He did average, let's see, he only averaged 46% routes last year. So his stats last year are gonna underrate his ability this year. He still did pretty good last year, so I think he does seem like a guy that to buy in on.
Okay. Yeah. I have bought in on Gabe Davis to some extent. In best ball, he was getting up to like in the top 40 picks, which was hard for me to take for a while. In the end, I bought in a little bit just to have some exposure in case he really is as good as a lot of people think he is. But it's really hard to say at this point. And then, of course, we'll talk about. So Isaiah McKenzie, we don't have him projected for a ton of ownership. Do you think that's going to come up close to a lock? Because he's only 2,400. He is the Bills' presumptive wide receiver 3 today. So I kind of expect Mckenzie to get a little bit steamed potentially, but maybe I'm off here. Usually the projected ownership on the site is going to know more than I will. How do you feel about Isaiah McKenzie today?
I feel pretty iffy on Mckenzie. I mean, he's definitely a guy that he has flashes of brilliance, but he's never really been a full-time player in the NFL. The one guy that I think gives me pause is Jameson Crowder is also a guy that's projected to get some run tonight. So I think that Mckenzie's probably like a little bit more likely to succeed. He has a prop of 30 yards compared to 20 for Crowder, but 30 is really not that high. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is a little bit lower on than people expect because those props usually are a good reflection of like the overall market.
Okay. Then what about Jameson Crowder there? So maybe Isaiah McKenzie doesn't get the ownership that we expect. I guess let's stay there for a second. If Isaiah McKenzie is this low owned, do you think you're going to want to be over the top there? I think that if he stays as low as 16.8% projected ownership, I'll probably be over the field on Mckenzie. Do you think you would be with me there going over the field?
I'm pretty indifferent, honestly. Okay, we got the inactives. The Bills inactives include Khalil Shakir. So he's a rookie wide receiver for Buffalo. I'm trying to look if Jake Kumaro is on the active roster. So let me get that up real quick. But I think it makes me feel a little bit better about some of the about Crowder and Mckenzie. Okay, so I think Kumaro is active for this one. So maybe he's a guy that could be like a real deep sleeper. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring up Khalil Shakir. I mentioned him in my article as maybe a long shot dart throw because he is relatively, he has a projection which tells me that he should at least have an opportunity, and really just takes one broken play for a guy at 200 price tag. I'm trying to find him on the list. I think he was a 200 price tag, but yeah, for a guy that cheap, it only takes really one play to make it into the optimal. And so now Jake Kumaro, I was not planning on talking about Jake Kumaro at all. He's not somebody that we had any projection for previously. I guess that could be changing now with this news.
Yeah, just because like okay, so he would be the 5th wide receiver since Shakir is out. And it does look like he's on the active roster for tonight's game. He's always been a guy that's been a preseason kind of stud, but I think that Millie Maker only, and I'm just gonna late swap all my Shakir to Kumaro just because like I gotta do something with it.
Yeah, seems easy enough. All right, so the one last Bills receiver that I think we should talk about then is Jameson Crowder. He's not going to get a ton of ownership. At least I don't think he's going to get a ton of ownership because he is seems to be behind Isaiah McKenzie on the depth chart, but he is more than double his price. So I think most people are going to be more likely to go to McKenzie than Jameson Crowder. Do you think that makes him kind of a pay up to be contrarian option?
Yeah, I think Crowder is someone to take a couple of shots on, just because he was actually pretty good at fantasy for the I wanted to say the Nets. I don't know why I thought that, but the Jets. Um, I think that he had a lot less competition for targets over there in New York than he does for Buffalo, but I think that he's definitely a showdown pick that you could go with.
Thank you to Sammy Telesco, who says, I love you guys. You answer all my questions before I even have to ask them. The Buffalo War Pigs, Bills Mafia. All right. So Sammy is a Bills fan. The Buffalo War Pigs. I don't think I'm familiar. Is that like the nickname for the Bills?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess might be showing my lack of fandom here, but shout out to Sammy. He's been around like since
Yeah.
I like started doing DFS, and he's always really cool to see on Twitter and everything.
Yeah. Sammy has been around forever. All right. Anything else that you want to say about the Bills receivers?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, well, then let's move into this messy Bills running back situation. James Cook is active, so somebody we need to be concerned about. We've got James Cook. We have Devin Singletary. We have Zach Moss. I guess let's start with the obvious. Let's start with Devin Singletary. How much interest do you have there?
Well, I think he's definitely the safest bet because the Bills like gave him a ton of work last year. Uh, Like Zach Moss is known as a good goal line back, so that does take away a little bit from Singletary. And then James Cook's kind of a pass catching specialist. So I think Singletary's snaps are going to be lower than we saw them last year, but definitely the safest option among the three.
Okay. Yeah, he's clearly the safest option, but the other guys are going to be lower owned. So how much interest do you have in either Zach Moss or James Cook?
Well, I think just passing interest, I guess, because Zach Moss, it's hard to have a ton of confidence because he barely played last year. He's inactive a lot of games. And then James Cook, like with the pass catching role, it is hard to get touchdowns. So if there's only two running backs, like I might go for one of those guys, but right now I don't see a ton of merit in going to them.
All right, so you're not that interested. I think it'll have some interest just because of the lack of ownership, because I'm trying to find ways to get different, and they seem like guys who are going to get not a ton of ownership. And I mean, Cook is cheap enough that maybe he has a few receptions and he could get there. 3 receptions for 50 yards. I don't know. It's a long shot, but I'm probably going to take some long shots on these guys because yeah, it's a gamble for sure. But you got to take some risks in these lineups. As you said, if you love your lineup, it's probably not a great GPP lineup, and that's what I'm concerned about is making great GPP lineups. So I imagine I'll have some of these guys, but I don't really know to what extent at this point. All right, anything else about the Bills running backs?
Nah, I think that this is definitely one of the units I'm not that excited about.
Okay. And Chris also points out that Cook is a different stacking way with Allen. Yeah, I would consider stacking Cook with Allen. He is a good pass catcher. So, if you think that Cook is going to be taking some of that passing volume, I think he's worth playing in some lineups with Josh Allen. All right. Let's move on to the Bills tight ends. We'll start with Dawson Knox. What's your level of interest there?
Well, it seems like the guy that everyone pegs for a breakout year every year. So I've kind of given up by this point, but I mean, I think that he's going to get a lot of playing time, so he's probably worth targeting in Ram stacks.
Okay. Yeah, he's looking a little bit over owned in the tools. It's funny because in my mind, Dawson Knox did break out last year. You don't think that he broke out last year? You're not satisfied with his output? Maybe he didn't do as well as I'm remembering him doing.
Yeah. Now I'm not feeling that confident.
He had some spike week games for sure, but
Okay.
you're probably right that he didn't truly break out last year.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at his stats because a tight end breakout is a little bit different than other positions. So maybe I'm not giving him enough credit, but he averaged let's see, 587 yards last year, and that was good for man, I was looking at advance. 39 yards per game. Not bad. And then he got 9 touchdowns. So like the problem here is getting 9 touchdowns on 600 yards is extremely unlikely. Like on average, touchdowns are scored about every 150 yards in the NFL, and for a good team like the Bills, it might be every like 120. But he scored one every like 65. So even for a tight end, that indicates like quite a bit of touchdown luck.
Okay. So he kind of broke out, but it was just kind of due to he had some variance break his way last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. Like, tight ends are good at catching touchdowns, so it's always tough to know, like, with touchdowns, because there's like so few opportunities to score. What is luck and what is good play?
Okay. And then any interest in Tommy Sweeney or Reggie Gilliam? Reminder that this is a showdown slate, and tight ends on showdown are a thing.
No, I think that last year, Knox's playing time was too high for any other tight end to really get much action. So, I don't see it.
Okay. All right, guys, let me tell you that our season-long fantasy football coverage doesn't end with your draft. Sub to our Stokastic Fantasy Football YouTube channel for weekly advice and insights into setting your best lineups and managing the waiver wire. Don't miss a single video from our team of fantasy football experts by clicking the link in the description below to subscribe to that channel, and make sure to turn on alerts as well so you know when new content goes live. Yeah, it's a pretty new channel, and not a lot of people are listening to us for season long advice yet. And we've got some great guys doing content there, so you might find a little bit of edge by listening to those guys. Alex, let's talk a little bit again. Where we're talking back to your kickers. How much interest do you have in the Bills kicker or defense special teams?
Yeah, we got Tyler Bass at kicker. I'm definitely gonna have some super Bass in my lineup here. So it's one of those things where, like, when you got the Bills stack, just picking the defense and kicker like are pretty good options. So I think that there's nothing particular about Tyler Bass or the Bills defense that I like, but Matthew Stafford, I do think he throws like a fair number of interceptions. So he looks like, well, let me see how many he threw last year, but interceptions are great because you get 2 points and then the return for a touchdown, like a relatively decent amount. But he had 17 interceptions last year, one per game. So even though he won the Super Bowl ring, his ball security is not the greatest.
Okay, so that maybe does that give you a little bit additional interest in the Bills defense?
Yeah, I think that I like them a little bit better than the Rams defense for that reason.
Okay. Butthole Jenkins, it is now NFL season, which I know because Butthole Jenkins has been telling us to cut the crap and give him our home run picks. Now he's asking us to cut the crap and give out the clear cut captain play tonight. Do you have a clear cut captain on DraftKings for Butthole?
Yeah, I guess I don't really have a clear cut captain, but maybe one line of construction that could be interesting is you throw Allen Robinson because he's underpriced at captain, and then you just leave a little bit of money on the table. So that would be pretty interesting.
I like that plan. All right, let's go right to the lineup generator. New tool for people that you can make lineups very quickly using the lineup generator. You can go through, it will make lineups, and then you get to decide, do I like this lineup? Do I not like this lineup? You decide what type of lineup it's going to be. All right, so it looks like Jordan does have it pulled up. We've got a large field GPP DraftKings lineup, and the first lineup has Cooper Kupp at captain with Ben Scaronick, Darrell Henderson, Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, and Josh Allen. Only uses 46,800 in salary. Alex, what do you think of this lineup?
I think, like, I like the ownership, but the correlations here just don't particularly work because, like, if you got Kupp at captain, like, Stafford's definitely going to be high on the list, and leaving that much money on the table, like, it makes him easier to get to. So I would probably discard this one.
All right. Can we move on to the next one, Jordan?
All right. Let's
Oh, I see. All right.
nice.
I've got my YouTube pulled up on my phone, so I've just been looking at that. All right.
Well,
I don't
this
know how to
one
look at
has
it on
Khalil Shakir, so let's
Okay.
discard this one because he's
Discard this one.
inactive.
Maybe throw Jake Kumaro on that one though. All right. We've got, oh no, I can't.
Stafford. This one, the correlations seem off. So, like, this is really your job, like, going on the lamp generator is, like, we give you a lot of good options and you just have to find, like, the ones that have, like, a good line of construction.
Yeah. All right, Josh Allen. So now we have 3 Bills pass catchers in this lineup: Dawson Knox, Isaiah McKenzie, and Stefan Diggs, with Josh Allen at captain. And we have the 2 running backs that I was advocating for earlier with Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. How do you feel about this lineup? This one, 1,000 on the table.
Yeah, this one's pretty interesting. I don't think many people would like end up with this, but it kind of makes sense that if the Rams dominated the game, you could see a ton of running production for the Rams and a ton of passing production from the Bills. So I kind of like this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I like it too. It's pretty interesting. I mean, I think I don't think I want to leave have more than 3 pass catchers in a lineup with quarterback captain. Maybe, I guess you could have 4 theoretically, but yeah, I think I like this lineup.
Nice. So this one, it looks like the ownership is medium. So like these correlate pretty well to like the field size. So this one would be one I would enter in like a medium size tournament.
Okay. All right. Now we've got Cooper Kupp at captain. We have Stafford in there in the flex spot. We also have Tutu Atwell in there along with Stefan Diggs and both kickers. How are you feeling about this lineup?
I think it's good. Like, okay, the ownership is telling us this is really contrarian. So I like that. I think that this is a good Millie Maker lineup because most people are not going to throw in 2 kickers plus Tutu Atwell. But the correlations look pretty decent with like the Kupp to Stafford pairing. So I like that. Okay.
Alex, if you have Cooper Kupp in captain, would you consider playing 2 more Rams receivers in the flex spots? Is that something you would do?
Okay, we got the Rams inactives. The only one that we had projected to play was Lance McCutchen. So that means Kyron Williams. Like, I don't think we were really expecting him to be inactive, given the reports this morning, but he is active. And Bryson Hopkins is it's Bryce Perkins. Okay, Bryson Hopkins is in. But Lance McCutchen's out. So I'm gonna look up the Rams 50-man roster real quick.
Makes it a little easier to go to feel a little bit more confident in Tutu and Scaronick with McCutchen out of there. Cobra's asking Tutu or Scaronick. I think we have Scaronick projected a little bit better.
Yeah, Scaronick is definitely the safer option. Tutu Atwell, we're just kind of dart throwing like because of the draft capital, but he didn't play last year, so that's pretty iffy. Okay, so Brandon Powell is the WR5 in LA tonight. So if you had Lance McCutchen somehow, then Brandon Powell would be the swap.
Interesting. Brandon Powell. All right, I'm trying to find how long this show actually goes before lock.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself.
Are we over time? All right. All right, guys. Well, that will do it for this show then. We have live before lock coming up next with Eric and Matt Savoca, I believe. So they'll go over all of these inactives and cover the games once again if you did not catch the entire show here. Thanks for watching. And as you're heading over or sticking around for the next show, please give us a like so we get the like before it goes over to them. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck tonight.
What is up? It is opening night. I know you're plenty excited. My name is Andy Francis, and if you really want to stalk me like a disgruntled ex, there's my name right there. But something tells me that that's not why you're here. You're here for some quality picks for No House Advantage's Thursday Night Football Pick'em contest. But maybe you are. If my ex is watching, hello. You need some picks? Nah, you were never into this. But if you haven't played No House Advantage, this is me telling my ex, hey ex, if you want to play No House Advantage, here's what it is. It's a cool new fantasy platform, and it's really simple for someone like you. That combines fantasy with prop picks. It's really simple to use. All you have to do is pick a prop. You click on a player's face, like Matthew Stafford. Choose passing yards, touchdowns, and then click over, under, and you pick 7 of those. As each pick is correct, you're going to watch yourself ascend in the standings and watch your money start to multiply. And right now, if you go to No House Advantage and use the promo code Stokastic, they're actually going to give you a first match deposit up to $50. That's not too bad. Throw 50 on there, got another 50. We'll turn this into 20 grand tonight, right? We'll see. But we'll start that right now. When I give you picks for this, I want to let you know many of them are guided by Stokastic's projections and like the optimal lineups that they have for this particular contest. And I treat these projections kind of like Ryan Gosling treats his movie selections. Many, one for the studio, one from the projections, one for me, something that I love. It's a combination of Stokastic's projections along with picks that I personally feel are the right ones to make. But one that we definitely agree on is James Cook under 30.5 rushing yards. There's multiple reasons for this. Number one, many times in the last couple of years in the Singletary, Moss, other running back era, we've seen a committee approach. And in any given moment, we can go back to that. And that, with that being the case, we don't know how many times whatever running back is going to be rotated in there. Are we going to see Moss tonight? Is it going to be one series for each? Is it going to be all Singletary? We don't know. So if you're getting an under 30.5 for a rookie on the road against a pretty good D-line, I think you got to take that. Not to mention the fact that the Bills are one of the most pass-heavy teams in the whole NFL. So everything is just pointing to under James Cook. 30.5 rushing yards. Watch him take the opening carry for 85. But no, I don't believe so. James Cook under 30.5 rushing yards. And then we're going to go to a pick for me. This is one for me. It's Allen Robinson over 50.5 receiving yards. Now, look, the sports books have it higher than that. I think they have it around 58. So I feel like we're getting a deal here. We're getting a free 8 yards. I'll take that. What is this? 2 catches? We know he runs the full.
What is going on, everybody? It is time. It is NFL Live before lock season. It's presented by No House Advantage. That's what's behind me on the TV. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm excited to be talking some NFL once again with y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell as we get going. Very, very excited to have Bills, Rams, and football back in our lives, and I have just the guy to talk it with. It's Matt Savoca. Go follow him over at the Twitters. Is it Matt? It's not Matt_Savoca. That is incorrect. Tell the people about yourself, because again, I think of you as now the head of the best ball channel, the head of the fantasy football channel. You are the man himself when it comes to NFL here at Stokastic. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing well. You can follow me at Draftaholic if you so choose on Twitter. I'm so happy to be back. So happy to be doing live before lock, and so happy that this game looks so good on paper, because two really good teams, two teams that we could see, I don't know, maybe in February sometime, but a lot of great storylines, a lot of great options. Excited to dig into this one. Let's play some football, man.
Yeah, it's lucky number 19, by the way. Adam Thielen. This is not a Kirk Cousins jersey. My birthday is coming up here, 11 days, September 19th. So lucky number 19, we're ready to rock. Contrary to what Greg Ehrenberg tries to tell the people, that, Eric turned 40. Shut up, Greg. We miss you, though. Get back here soon. Couple of days. Anyway, I'm excited to be back here with Matt. We talked a lot of NFL last year. We're going to talk a lot of NFL this year, and what a game to start off with here. Let's just start with the inactives, because that's the one thing that just came down the pipeline. When we're talking about Showdown, every single player on the roster, when you're trying to win $1 million to first, when you're trying to win the $3 on DK, the $9 over on FanDuel, no matter what, every position matters. So Matt, I'm going to let you do the honors. Run down some of the most important inactives that we just got.
I actually didn't see the inactives yet.
Great.
So
I got you.
I should go. I should just,
Lance McCutchen is not playing football. Shakir.
Come on. He isn't. Nope. Preseason hero Lance McCutchen.
No, God forbid.
Change everything about my lineups.
Yeah. Khalil Shakira. He's not playing football today either. So letting you know. Yeah.
I had a feeling that we wouldn't see Khalil Shakir yet, though. These two players shined in preseason. I've been saying to many people, chill, hold the brakes, pull the brakes, whatever the word is, on these preseason breakout players, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, we're just
Hey, Matt.
still going.
You know how many I have them projected for tonight?
0.
That would be the answer. So we don't have to think about it anymore, which I'm super excited about. But I am excited to talk football, and that is what we shall do. Once again, hit that like button. Also, head over to No House Advantage as we're starting the show. You want overlay? Do you want overlay? Because they have it in spades over at No House Advantage right now. Go jump in that $20. It is what I'm going to double check how full it is, because it was legitimately less than 1,000 people when I looked about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
it's 956.
Yeah,
956 out of 3,000. If you're looking for the best bang for your buck this second, head over there. And hey, we have an entry. We have a number of things to be able to help you out over at No House Advantage. The boss man did an eloquent job of talking through some of the projections, that updates in real time constantly, but we will get to that here in a little bit. But I want to start, because I know a lot of people are looking at the old DraftKings and the FanDuel. And the way we do these showdowns is we start at the quarterback position. And you have Josh Allen, you have Matt Stafford. And I got to say, you're playing a lot of lineups. You're going to play a lot of both of them. That's just kind of how it works. But looking at some of the ownership, I'm going to ask you this. If you had to captain Josh Allen on DraftKings or Matt Stafford on DraftKings, which one do you find yourself getting to more of?
So it's still Josh Allen for me. It's still the basic fantasy fundamentals, right? Because the way he gets to a ceiling game is through rushing. And we know that the passing upside is still just as good as Matthew Stafford. So I feel like I have more outs there. I understand that that's why there's a salary increase. But overall, I think Josh Allen is going to find ways to poke holes in this Los Angeles defense, which is by no means bad. I mean, their pass defense was top 6 in the NFL last year in Football Outsiders DVOA. But interestingly enough, in a yards per pass attempt efficiency rating, they were 22nd in the NFL. So they will sacrifice the big play here and there in order to win the game defensively, if you will. So I do think that there are just more ways that this happens for Josh Allen. You look at total leverage, which is the total ownership, whether they're in a captain spot or in the regular spot. I know you were mentioning captain. Both quarterbacks actually end up slightly positively leveraged to me, at least tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a spot where I think both of them make a lot of sense. I will say this. I find it very interesting on what the builds are going to look like with Matt Stafford if you don't double stack him, where you just play like him and Cooper Kupp, and that's your only way of doing it. Now, I doubt Matt Stafford can find a way to being optimal, but this is also a salary-based game. And when you look at the top showdown and single game plays over at Stokastic here today, I mean, Cooper Kupp is just such a big part of what everybody's going to be doing with their lineups. And, you know, he has such a good chance of being a utility optimal, and it just makes all the sense in the world to be captaining him a ton. But Josh Allen, I feel like just because the two of them, there are so many paths where they are going to be the highest scorers in this game. So I think Josh Allen, I'm with you, where I think I just get to a ton of him. Matt Stafford, I'm going to be a little bit specific in like a large field setting, how I'm going to be getting to him. But just in terms of quarterbacks, is there anything that you find different between DraftKings and FanDuel with the way that you're building?
I was actually going to say on FanDuel, I'm actually more inclined to go heavy Josh Allen.
Love it.
Just because I think the way he gets there, once again, he can differentiate himself from the pack more often. And I do know that the leverage score is negative in terms of optimal lineup percentage versus ownership, but I can find ways to be different in the lower salary parts of my lineup. I don't need to have high leverage on every single play. I'm looking for high projection, and that safety and ceiling that I get from Allen is kind of unparalleled in this contest.
Somebody saying that I'm going to blow the Vikings horn if we get to 500 likes. I damn sure will try to recreate the sound of the Viking horn if we get to 500
I will
likes.
Do it with you. We'll do it together.
Do you know kind of how it sounds? Do you know the intro one? Because it's different than the that we hear all the time when they get a first down.
All right, that's definitely the one I was thinking of. So
okay.
not me looking it up while we do this show live.
They have this massive that's a weird thing to do. I'm not going to do that again. We're back, baby. We're back. We're back in the saddle again. We're going to continue on, shall we? I think that's a great idea. Running back. Let's go to running back, because this is where it gets really interesting for me, because we think about this being a pass-heavy type game. Go ahead.
Sorry, I know. We got so much noise all offseason about Matthew Stafford's elbow. My gosh, I feel like I know so much about Matthew Stafford's elbow. Okay, thank you.
I don't care. Look, he's on the football field, and I don't know how in Showdown this is going to matter, because even if he's just noodle arm out there, there's still so many paths to like a noodle aren't being optimal. I mean, we're going to watch Tua do it all season long. So like, enjoy it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He just won a Super Bowl. Okay. He won a Super Bowl. I don't think they're just shoveling him out there if he was like broken beyond repair. That would be the dumbest thing ever. What would be the point?
I agree. Good. And in fact, it's funny. The report today from Schefter was, it feels better than it did last year. That's why he got surgery, to feel better. I don't know. We'll see. If it's nothing. That's my guess too, honestly.
Yeah, it's my guess because it's the right guess. Like we have no way of knowing which direction we are going, so we're not going to worry about it whatsoever. It needs to just be said that like you could come in and try to victory lap it tomorrow morning, but like the fact remains that if you're making more than one lineup and you don't have Matthew Stafford, a majority of the time you're going to be screwed when this plays out. So don't do that. Don't act like you know when you don't. Let's go to the running back position because again, these are two very pass-happy kind of situations. Obviously, Josh Allen has a number of paths to get there with his legs and take away from some of the work. But I find myself Devin Singletary over at Odd Shopper. We're looking at 43.5 being the rushing prop for him. I like the over of that the same way that Odd Shopper does because it just makes all the sense in all the land to have the guy who was fantastic week 17, 18 last season. Obviously, that was a different kind of game script we saw against Kansas City where Buffalo came from behind. Gabe Davis went nuts, all those things. But Devin Singletary still feels like the guy that's going to get 60+% of the snaps. Is that good enough for you to be over the field at 24% on a PPR site like DraftKings?
Yes, sir. I have been in on Devin Singletary all season long. And the bottom line is they were using him in an effective way from essentially week 13, 14 on. We saw a big snap share boost in week 12 at New Orleans, went down a little bit to 42% at week 13, but then it rode up at the 80 to 90% range. And by the time he played Kansas City in that playoff game, he had 100% of the snaps. Now, they don't want to do that. Enter James Cook as a second-round pick. That's fine. But Devin Singletary is there to get a 65 to 75% snap share on one of the best offenses in the NFL. Listen to these stats over the course of the final 6 weeks of the fantasy season. Weeks 13 through 18, 6th in the NFL in rush yards, 13th in receiving yards among running backs, 19th in receptions, 3rd in running back touchdowns, and 8th in fantasy points. He was an absolutely elite option at the second half of the fantasy season last year, and then followed up by playing it more in the actual NFL playoffs. This is a stud, in my opinion, and he's not priced that way.
He's not priced that way at all. Are you a best ball bro who got a lot of Devin Singletary like me?
Yeah,
I love you. I missed you so much. I like a lot. Yeah, I bet you I can get. I bet I can get you betting by the end of this show.
You have a sportsbook offer for me or something?
That was a Dumb and Dumber quote.
Oh, damn it!
Well, this show got
we were
a turn.
Yeah, it did.
You got. It's okay. You're still loved. So Devin Singletary for me is somebody I want to be over on. And I know that the boss man, I always get nervous because he is the number one DFS player of all time. Like that's what Alex Baker is. I listen to him. I value his opinion so much, but it still feels like for me, Devin Singletary is a guy that I want to be over that 23.1% of. The other side of this one, so we'll talk about Zach Moss and James Cook to finish it out, but Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. I mean, Cam Akers, it's still an Achilles, and we're still, a year and a half now removed from that. We only saw him in 4 games last season. He fumbled twice against the Bucs. Then he turned around and he got sub 40% of snaps in that conference championship. Then in the Super Bowl was back over 50%. How do you kind of go about projecting Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson? And I guess Kyron Williams is just kind of thrown in the mix, but I'm not really projecting him for much of anything.
Yeah. Oh man, it must be showdown season once again. If we're like, maybe Kyron Williams, maybe he gets a touch. It could happen.
No, it does not.
Listed as the 1A and 1A to me indicates that whatever Darrell Henderson has done on the field and behind the scenes has been enough to either pull even with or be at literally the same level and maybe even ahead of Cam Akers. Do I think they want Cam Akers to be a thing? Everything they did last year about not putting him on IR, letting him have a chance to come back, giving him the full snap share when he came back indicates that they want him to be a thing. But it doesn't mean that his ability is the same as it was before the Achilles tear. Could he be great? Absolutely. Is the salary egregious? No. 8K, 12K as a captain on DraftKings, no, it's fine, but it just doesn't excite me. And I think I might as well take the salary discount, while the team views them the same, and their opportunity for success should be relatively equal as well.
I think this is an important talking point when it comes to Showdown, because we generally are looking for positive correlation. We want the correlations to match up, but there's also salary. And you get Darrell Henderson there at 4,800. You get Zach Moss at 3K. You get James Cook. A pass catching back is what we assume his role to be at 2,800. Are you getting to any builds in these large field tournaments where you're getting to 2 running backs on the same team?
I think in large field tournaments, you indicated that, and I would. I think there is more opportunity to be unique, especially when you're talking about the overall construction of your team. For instance, if I'm playing 5 Bills on a lineup, then maybe I'll do 2 from the running back position on the same team. It's just a way to be unique, but the overall construction is really what I'm thinking of. You know, the team gets way ahead. The running back one, Singletary scores 3 touchdowns. And then in the fourth quarter, when the scrubs are in, James Cook adds an 80-yard run against the backups, something like that. Those are the kinds of weird game scripts you're going to have to build lineups around in order to differentiate yourself in a large field tournament.
Yeah, I think James Cook makes the most sense to go with Singletary because we assume him to be a pass catching back. Again, we haven't seen him play a down of football in the NFL yet. I don't know exactly what that rule is supposed to be, but that's the assumption. That's, well, again, you got second round draft capital in him. I assume that they're going to use him and utilize him. It gets harder for me when it comes to Akers and Henderson because you do feel like this is going to be on the ground for a lot more of them. They have lower projections. Henderson being 4,800 as opposed to Cook 2,800. I think that that's pretty noticeable in the difference in terms of salary. So I do find myself getting to a little bit of Singletary and Cook. I think that there's other paths to be taking if you really want to go to the basement and get to some of those punt wide receivers we'll talk about. But I thought Cook and Singletary made the most sense. I'm assuming just based on the take you had with Singletary too. Is that something you would agree with?
Yep, that's essentially how I see it as well. I do think that there's nothing wrong with differentiating yourself with 2 running backs on the same team if you think the volume is going to be good enough. So again, I don't want to say move away from statistics, but if you're going to use two weird players who typically have a negative correlation, you got to build a narrative around that with the rest of your lineup.
Arcathelza, hasn't Singletary always been a passing back? I see 22, 23, 19, 16. Those are rushing attempts between weeks 15 and 18 last year. So yeah, I think of him being a smaller back, but not really something that's hindered him from getting a workload from time to time.
Yeah, and he had 6 receptions week 14, 5 receptions week 16, and at least 2 receptions every single game from week 18 on. So he just got more workload is what I see it as.
Yep, I see that too. But I also see another fantastic deal, just like getting to over the field Devin Singletary today, is using promo code SCRAMBLE at checkout right now. 7 days for $7 of Stokastic plus NFL. Sounds like Christmas to me. 7 days for $7. 7 crazy nights, if you will. Scramble is the promo code for that. 70% off the original price. Full access to everything that exists. We're talking the projections, the ownership projections, the top stacks tool, the boom bust, everything you could possibly want for the NFL season. Try it out right now for the Thursday night slate show. I mean, we've got over 45 minutes before we get to lock of this game. Plenty more to talk about. We've got super chats. We have so much stuff here, but sign up using Scramble right now to get those 7 days for just $7. That's so cheap. That's less than 1 entry over on FanDuel today in that $9 contest. So take advantage of that. This will be valid through September 13th, but if you want it for week 1, and I know you guys do for Sunday, why not sign up now? You'll get this, you'll get tonight, you'll get all the way through next Thursday's showdown. And if you don't like it after that, go ahead and cancel. But I'm telling you, you will see how good these tools and content are for your lineup building purposes, not just for tonight for showdown, not just Sunday and Monday night for showdown, but for the NFL main slate as well. So take advantage, go to stokastic.com and sign up today. Promo code SCRAMBLE, use it. Cool, y'all. We continue along our merry way. And this is where I think we're going to spend the most time out of anywhere else that we're discussing. We're going to talk wide receivers, and I think there's only one wide receiver we should start with in this game. It's this Cooper Kupp fellow, because I heard he's pretty good. 22 touchdowns in 21 games last year seems pretty good. Only 6 games where he didn't score a touchdown seems pretty good. How do you feel about Cooper Kupp being almost an all-in type play on today's slate?
So the season he had puts last year puts him on a trajectory that very few wide receivers have ever been on. But if you start to do it again and again and again, you're in the absolute upper tier of the Hall of Fame players. Like that season he just had was like a Jerry Rice level season. Does he have that in him again? Do we see that start right now? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think the easiest answer is to say he's still a very good player who had an otherworldly season, and we probably just saw his peak. Does that mean he'll have ceiling games here and there? Sure. But I think the easiest thing to say is he's going to be a little bit worse than last year, especially with players like Allen Robinson. But I don't actually think that is the case. I think we have an amazing player on our hand. And the only reason I wouldn't go all in on him is because I think that there are certain receivers on the slate who have salaries who are just right. But if you wanted to play it that way and say like, hey, I got 10 lineups or I got 20 lineups, it's all GPP, I'm okay losing it all. I'm putting it on one player and then I'm just changing the value plays around that one player. Why not Cooper Kupp? This guy is just otherworldly good.
Yeah, obviously the salary is insane. It's absolutely absurd. 12-4, most expensive guy in the game, higher price than Josh Allen, the proverbial favorite to win MVP just about everywhere this season. Like, it makes all the sense to, get to more Allen, to get to other guys. But that's kind of why you look at Kupp at the top. He has a top percentage of 29.4 over on DraftKings. That's the highest of any player here on the slate. Captain ownership is below that of Josh Allen. It's almost that of Stefan Diggs, obviously, who's a lot cheaper when you place him in that spot. And then you go over to FanDuel even, and Josh Allen, because of the legs, because of that volume, I mean, it makes all the sense with a 45.6% optimal percentage, you're going to get to him. But Cooper Kupp is nearly 20%. He is second behind Josh Allen. He's almost 0.3, 0.4% higher than Matthew Stafford. Pretty negligible. But I mean, if you're prioritizing two of those three for FanDuel, Josh Allen, Kupp, or Stafford, who are the two that are your favorites? Because you can't fit them all.
I always got to lean the quarterbacks here, and I don't want to hedge too hard and say like, well, for cash, do this, but GPPs do that. But I think that the more likely I am to be playing Stafford, the more likely I am to be playing Kupp, and vice versa. So having Kupp on a team means I'll tap Stafford more likely, but if I'm just playing one of those three, it's probably going to be Allen.
All righty. Well, before we get to the rest of the Rams, we got to talk about the big two here. And I'm going to call it the big two because I do have a lot of expectations. I've been on the Gabe Davis bandwagon for, I don't know, it feels like forever. I absolutely love him. We started to see him emerge week 10 against the Jets. We really saw what he was capable of. Just 3 catches, 4-3 and 105. But from that point on, he started to see the snaps work themselves up to 100% towards that KC game. I mean, we're seeing a guy that's just like on the rise. Do I think he's as good as Stefan Diggs? No. But if I can leave 1,800 on the table in some lineups that would otherwise be Diggs, I think that that's a pretty viable way of building today. But considering the popularity of Stefan Diggs, do you want to be over or under 42% on DraftKings today for the utility?
For Gabe Davis?
For Stefan Diggs.
For Stefan Diggs.
Sorry, I was already making my take known without trying. That was extreme bias. I was leading the witness, Your Honor.
So I gotta say, these two players are kind of my big takes today. Stefan Diggs is my favorite play at 9K.
Alrighty.
Pivoting down from Kupp. And I know people are going to get excited about the value in Allen Robinson, but I think it's actually Stefan Diggs at that mid top tier pricing that is going to be my favorite in these tournaments today. And plus, Stefan Diggs, he didn't have quite the same ceiling season in 2020 that Cooper Kupp had in 2021. But I mean, these two, Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs, are absolute fireworks. And there are going to be games where Stefan Diggs has that Gabe Davis type game the last time we saw this Bills team play. And while I have absolutely no problem with Gabe Davis at a $7,200 salary, I still think that there is a pretty large line of demarcation in terms of talent. In a season-long perspective, still in on Gabe Davis, but today I'm most in on Stefan Diggs.
Can we put that one in the old thesaurus? What did you just say? What was the lineup demarcation?
Line of demarcation?
Oh God, you are smarter than me. I didn't know until just now. I found it out. I knew you were smarter than me. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'll admit it. Just a man in front of a boy asking him to love him. Let's take a look at these super chats. Yes, I want to get caught up in some super chats. We've got top 3 captains you project. That's from Clowning01. Top 3 captains. Well, I try to build showdowns the way that the number 1 player in the world does. I mean, that's Alex Baker, the number 1 player of all time being Alex Baker. I don't think anybody's going to argue that one. He's pretty freaking good. But I try to find the ways to get to the guys who are the highest projected players. For me, that's Josh Allen. That's Cooper Kupp. That's Matt Stafford. So there you go. How do you feel about those 3 of mine? And then do you have anybody else you want to add to the group?
Stefan Dix. I think that his likelihood of a 20-point game is almost the same as Cooper Kupp, and the salary is lower, and the expectations by the field are lower. So if you include him in that elite tier, suddenly it changes the entire perspective of the lineups, and that's how I'm getting different today.
Ryan Nelson, $1.99, wearing a Minnesota jersey with pride. New coach helps. Sure does. Thanks, Rams. Let's have that coaching tree work out.
Can I pause there for a second? Because I've been hyping them up a scary amount over the last few weeks.
Have you really?
They have all the talent in the world, especially on offense, and they needed a philosophical change, and that is exactly who they hired. I have high hopes.
Have you ever cheered for the Minnesota Vikings before?
This is something I have not, and so I don't know the pain. I don't seem to know the pain quite as much as you jersey-wearing folk.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well, Matt. It doesn't go well. So welcome to the torture chamber. Hopefully you enjoy your time here. I haven't. You get a Minneapolis Miracle, and you know what you get it back with? You get Philadelphia running train on them. It was not enjoyable. Whatever. Appreciate you guys. Larry C, we all know that. Joking, Eric doesn't ban me. I didn't see what you said, Larry C. But you know what? We continue on our merry way. We have almost 2,000 of you guys hanging out here. Hit that like button as we go. And don't forget, sign up over at No House Advantage. Go take advantage of that overlay while we're talking. But let's talk these other wide receivers, these tertiary options. That is something that I've stolen from Laffy. You're welcome, trademark LLC. I'll make sure I give him props and pay him back on that usage. But there are a lot of these dudes that are showing up in my lineups. We're talking Isaiah McKenzie. We're talking Ben Scaronick now. We're talking Jameson Crowder, who actually isn't showing up in that many lineups. I mean, Tutu Atwell. Who are some of the ridiculous options that you find yourself getting to on the bottom end?
Okay, so we'll definitely talk to the bottom end, but we didn't talk about Allen Robinson.
He seems important considering I have 50% of him.
Pretty important.
Yeah, he's 6,200. Why is he 6,200? I don't know, Basil. What does it all mean?
It's the most obvious value on the slate. The projections make Robinson look different from a salary-based expectation standpoint than every other player on the slate. It's just a great play all around, but I don't think it's going to be unpopular. You're going to have to do something else or 2 other things in your lineup in order to differentiate yourself, because everyone's looking at that 6,200 and drooling compared to Kupp's incredibly high salary and even Diggs at 9K on DraftKings. It just looks really good. And I have super high hopes. I think one thing you could do is like bet anytime touchdown score for Allen Robinson if you want to get in on that. But I also think that you're kind of going into a headwind of something that's going to look very, very popular at the end of the day. So yeah, let's head into Showdown season and talk about these Ben Skaronicks and these Isaiah McKenzies of the world. And I do think the Bills, in terms of the slot wide receiver role, that is one of the big things I'm going to look at. Isaiah McKenzie had all the noise in the preseason, but what if it was just basically them monitoring Jameson Crowder because they fully plan on him being the starting slot in week 1 right today?
That would be pretty bonkers to me.
I mean, he's been productive. He's been more productive than anyone has thought he was going to be basically every single year of his career and every stop he's had.
It's true. Well, also, has he had a quarterback until now? No.
No, in Washington or the Jets, that's not a place to get quarterback help.
Nope. It's gonna be wild. He's just been a possession receiver too. That would be insane to me if he just ends up getting that role right out of the bat. But I guess it's something you got to think about. I don't know why you wouldn't just put Diggs in the slot constantly, but that's something for another day as well. Jameson Crowder, 5K. You find yourself getting to him because he's kind of a guy that, he's going by the wayside for me.
He's a fine play. Like I just presented the optimistic case.
I know it was.
I presented the optimistic case, but he's in the range of outcomes, right? That very effective Cole Beasley role is still there within this Josh Allen-led Bills offense. Do I think that Jameson Crowder has it locked up? No, that's not the most likely thing. But I'm still trying to present, does Isaiah McKenzie still play that?
McKenzie.
Does he still play that gadget role? I think he's earned the true slot role, not just the like Mecole Hardman, Deebo Samuel gadget stuff that he used to only have within this offense. But I don't know. We all don't know. We got to be honest about that.
I think that being upfront and honest about it is it the most likely thing? Absolutely not. Maybe it is. Again, that's the fun of this. Like for me, it's also why I like Devin Singletary is like, how much are they going to give James Cook work right out of the gate? I doubt a lot, but we shall see. Maybe he does get near 50-50 and I have to eat crow there. It might also be a little game script dependent, but that's beside the point. We have a super chat, $20. We get a 20 spot. $20 make you holler. Kipper K, appreciate you. MME, he asks, how much salary left is too much? I think it always depends on what kind of a showdown slate you have. It always depends on what the projection is. Obviously, you have somebody like Isaiah McKenzie who's projected for more fantasy points than Jameson Crowder when there's 2,600 difference between them. So, you could obviously leave a lot of that on the table in terms of a pass catcher. There's no hard and fast rule, but Matt, what is the lineup that you have the most salary left on the table for today?
Let me see. I mean, I think you got to start questioning what we're doing at around 3K on the slate. Like at this point, you could say I could fit in a whole separate group of players possibly, but that line does change every single slate a little bit. And honestly, it also changes the amount of players you're playing against. And I hate to add a third factor, how many lineups you are playing. Because if you're playing 150 lineups against a million other people, then leaving more salary on the table is something I would be more likely to do. If I'm playing against 30 people and I'm entering 3 lineups, I'm probably getting really, really close to the salary line, like within 1, maybe 2% of that full salary cap.
I have 5,000 left on the table in a lineup today, and it's a 5-1 with a game script in mind that it's going to be all Rams in that one. So there you go, where it's only Stefan Dix. He would be the only person it is. It's got Cooper Kupp and the captain. I'll let you guys figure out the rest because, obviously there's a kicker, there's a defense, and they aren't from the Buffalo side. So there you go.
I want to add, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I wanted to reference someone saying, did I forget that Ramsey plays for the Rams? Absolutely not. In fact, I think one of the ways we see Ramsey deploy today is just absolutely shutting down Gabe Davis. Like just a zip. Not a none from Gabe Davis, letting the rest of the Rams defense focus as a group on stopping Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, and the running backs out of the backfield. That would be the way, if I were a coach and just looking at the Buffalo offense and my personnel on the Rams defensive side, that I would first attack this. Do I know as much as a defensive coordinator? Hell no. But that is how I look at this possibly happening today, which is why I'm pivoting to that Stefan Diggs lock spot.
Yep. I don't mind that at all. Again, I think making a stand is an important thing. I don't want to be at the field on all these guys. You're going to have all of them show up. And if you're making more than 5 lineups, 10 lineups, like they're all going to show up to some capacity. If you're making 150, you're for sure going to get shares of everybody, unless you're just getting insanely aggressive. But like, you're going to get shares of everybody, but make some stands. Like live with a purpose, my friends. Live with a purpose.
Well said. That's what I always say when I'm thinking about which wide receiver I play on the Bills. Live with purpose.
Yeah, I'm philosophical like that. Daily Stoic. It's beautiful. Shout out Ryan Holiday. Don't know why I'm throwing that out there, but $20, man, that was a great super chat to start off the show with. I mean, we got 3 of you guys already. Always appreciate those. You don't, Jordan Klein, why would you? How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Purpose.
God, you just had to. You just had to. Again, I'm Eric Lindquist. I do a lot of golf content too. Appreciate you all for being there for me in my time of need against the regime that is the Live Tour, but whatever. The tour that shall not be named on this show anymore. Anything else you want to discuss here at the wide receiver position? Pretty important on this slate.
Tutu Atwell is probably going to make an appearance, right?
Sure is. He's named Tutu. He's the 57th pick in the draft. Look at me doing research. Congratulations.
I think I saw someone in the draft. It's like Tutu is a real person that we're considering today. Yeah, we're considering the Tutu today. And like you said, he had day 2 draft capital. He's a speedster, not a big guy. Is it the most likely outcome? No. Is he 1K? Yeah. Like, here we go. It's that's how we do when we're trying to win a large field tournament. We get weird with Tutu Atwell.
If you had to play one of Jake Kumaro or Brandon Powell, they're both active. Yeah, there we go. Which one do you want to play? Pow!
Kumaro.
Probably Kumaro for me too. But I think people know his actual name, which might bring the ownership down on the other cat that I just forgot. Brandon Powell.
Is that like a Rob Riggle situation?
It is a Rob Riggle. I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah. You know who wouldn't pick up on that? Adam Shit My Money Share. Yeah. Idiot. Doesn't watch enough movies, that's for sure. But I do not think Kirk Cousins is going to win MVP, 720 Red Dog. I am a realist Minnesota Vikings fan. This jersey was sewn with the tears from, we're not even going to go there anymore. We are done with the wide receiver position, correct?
I think so.
Well, we're not done talking. No House Advantage, the sponsor of this here show. And why? Well, because there's massive overlay. As I'm talking right now, let me refresh. 1,127 out of 3,000 in the $20. We're talking 38% full. The the $5 it is 41% full. Those aren't going to fill. And it is such a fun way to play props. You do pick'em contests. That's versus other people. So it's peer-to-peer. They have over $150,000 in cash up for grabs here in week 1 through the showdown, through the main slate, through everything that you have. 100K Sunday kickoff for the early slate. There's only 75 out of 6,000. Spoiler alert. That isn't going to fill either. I love No House Advantage. It is so much fun to be going and playing over there. Plus, you can now test your skills versus the house. They have prop-based games. You've probably played at other sites, amongst them, Underdog, Prospects, other places. But I'm telling you, No House Advantage has the best payout structure that I have seen at any of them. You get 2.5x your money for getting 2 props right. You get 5x, which is identical to a number of spots, but specifically those 2 for 2 player props at 2.5x is such a great deal there. And if you want to go 5 for 5, if you're going to shoot for the stars there, try to correlate some bets, have them work out, 21x your money, there is no better place for you to be playing props than over at No House Advantage. We're talking some serious cashola up for grabs there. So you want to bet 5 player props when you're making your lineups, though, for this pick'em. You simply click on that. Plus, we have all of the lineup building needs covered for you at Stokastic. You simply sign up over at Stokastic using that lovely promo code that I gave you guys earlier. Remind me, Scramble. There we go. These are free today? Oh, dude, then there's no reason you shouldn't be signing
Just
up
get
over
there. And no also, can I also mention that they had a visual change over there, No House Advantage, and it looks awesome. The new site looks great. The new logo looks great. Yeah, we're stoked about having a partnership with them, and we're stoked about the great tournament and prop offerings they have. Unbelievable payouts. You were mentioning that. I was literally looking at 3x, 4x, 5x what they're paying out. And I was like, oh, I got to increase my volume over here. 2.5x
on a 2 for 2. It's 2x everywhere else. So I don't know when that happened, but I'm going to be playing over there constantly. And then this Thursday Night Football Showdown, you definitely want to take advantage of overlay because that's how you build and sustain a bankroll, but also that's how you make a ton of cash. 20K to first, pretty top heavy here in this one, but I'm telling you, if you can correlate some of those plays, get a couple of them together, there are a number of ways that you can have that work for you. Do not click on Van Jefferson, by the way, because you will get 0 for it no matter what. Want to always give that reminder to the people if you're playing over at No House Advantage for the first time. I don't want you to get burned taking an under of Van Jefferson, so don't do that. But everything else, you have an opportunity to play over at No House Advantage. Use everything that we talked about here. Plus, I believe it's a $25 first match deposit bonus using promo code Stokastic. So just simply take the name of our company in the top left corner. It's beautiful. You simply sign up using that. You're going to get another $25 just by signing up and depositing $25. That gets you 2 entries. Look at me doing math. You could do that. You could put $10 on the props and you're all set to go. So thank you so much to all the great guys over at over at No House Advantage here. And then everybody here at Stokastic, because they're putting together this free, and yes, free NFL DFS projection page for you tonight. So take advantage of all of that right now. It's a better investment than anything you're going to find over at DraftKings and FanDuel. But we do continue along our merry way here to the tight end position. And I would say that this has kind of been the popular position, if you will, in days of yore for showdown contests. Last season, I feel like tight ends went berserk by default every single showdown slate. maybe that's just me, or maybe that's just the way that it was, because that is the way that it was. But Dawson Knox or Tyler Higbee, pick one, my friend.
Dawson Knox. They didn't pay him because they thought he was a mediocre player. They didn't pay him because they thought he was going to be meh in this offense. They paid him because they want him to be an integral part of the offense. And then throughout the preseason, he proved himself as an integral part of the offense. I always say that getting paid is a signal from a team, right? And then getting paid at this specific time of year is a huge signal because they've literally just watched you do your work for a month and a half on the field. And now they know what you're capable of in the game. They want him to be huge. And the fact that he just scored so many touchdowns as fantasy analysts, that makes us question. That makes us just kind of perk up because we don't know if that player is lucky or good. The Bills are sending us signals that they believe he is good. Now, is this my favorite player on the slate? Absolutely not. I already told you my favorite receiver on the Bills side is. But maybe you guys in chat are talking about Jalen Ramsey or don't necessarily believe they play them, Gabe Davis and Stefan Diggs, that is, the same way I do. Then Dawson Knox could be wide open over the middle, could still just have like 4 targets and 2 touchdowns, games like he had last year. So if I'm choosing one, it's definitely Knox for me.
I do feel pretty good about Tyler Higbee. I would say I probably am a little bit higher on Higbee between Knox for 2 reasons. One, you are getting the $1,200 discount. That can go a long ways in terms of maybe you can get a little bit extra into your lineups. I'm playing some small field stuff. I'm also playing in the millies, so I'm jumping around, playing a number of different contest sizes. So you always want to make your lineups for that specific contest. But Tyler Higbee, I feel like with the absence of Van Jefferson, they could be going into more 2 tight end type situations where it is Tommy Sweeney or Bryson Hopkins out there. But Tyler Higbee's really the only pass catcher between all of them. And I do think that if you're going to have Van Jefferson off the field, if they're going to be keyed in, they're not going to be able to cover Cooper Kupp. But if they're going to maybe key in a little bit more on Allen Robinson, I think Tyler Higbee has more paths to work out optimal in this kind of a game, considering the cheaper salary.
I will say this. He gets that Rams offense boost that you don't necessarily feel when you're watching it, but if you know what to look for in the advanced stats, you really see it. The value of certain offenses' number 1 player is just sky high compared to everybody else's number 1. But then when you go down the totem pole, the number 2 player scores like other teams' number 1s. The number 3 player scores like other teams' number 2. You get what I'm saying? The expected fantasy points per game for Tyler Higbee, the clear number 3 option in the receiving game all year long for the Rams, 6th best among all tight ends last year, 5th best in route participation rate. So the opportunity value is absolutely there. I just think that Dawson Knox is the better player.
Okay. Yeah, I think that that's fine. Dawson Knox being a better player, I think that that's probably, I'm okay with that take. But Tyler Higbee is cheaper for showdown purposes. I mean, Higbee's also a little bit more popular, so I guess it kind of goes on both sides of the coin there. I'm just getting slightly more Higbee, so I don't want to say that I'm doing something that I'm not. So yeah, I get if you're going to go to the Knox situation. I said it before, I'll say it again. Tight ends went berserk in some really weird spots, whether it was Blake Bell or who was the other Kansas City wide receiver who caught, or the tight end that caught the touchdown randomly that
was
ended
it
up
Noah
working out.
Gray or Jody Forson or whatever.
It was one of those 2 guys that caught a touchdown and ruined the day that I lived, because I would have had the optimal like 250K winner. It would have been split a dozen or so ways, but still, it would have been really nice if that didn't happen. Tommy Sweeney or Bryson Hopkins interest you?
Yes, only because they're so incredibly cheap that they can be the last player in a lineup. Not because I have any strong feelings at all about any of them. We want 1 catch, 1 touchdown, right? We want that weird secondary offensive line play at the goal line, at the 1-yard line. That's what we're looking for with these absolute basement salary tier tight ends. We got them projected for like 1 to 2 points, but it can happen. That's the kind of thing you need to happen when you're talking showdown, winning $1 million in a large field tournament. I have a couple lineups with them here and there. Why not?
For those that don't know, my friend Matt Savoca up there, if you wanted to go do karaoke with one person in your entire life, you want to pick Matt Savoca. The guy is unbelievable. So I will say that. Classically trained, phenomenal singer. But I have a musical theater joke for you. Can we nickname Tommy Sweeney Sweeney Tom?
Sweeney Tom. Okay. All right. The demon barber of whatever, Orchard Park.
Let's go. Let's go. Johnny Depp's uncanceled. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah.
It's great. It's beautiful stuff. So there
There's
you go.
like
Sweeney
four
Tom.
people. There's like 4 people who are like, yeah, Sondheim, let's go.
Yeah, dude, rip City to one of the greats, or the great. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. Stop it. Into the Woods, beautiful stuff.
Best lyricist. Like he just didn't like to write a good melody enough.
I want to go to the festival. See, I'll sing. I don't care. I have no shame, even though you're actually good at it, and I am a bag of dog doo-doo. Anything else from tight end that you want to discuss? Because I think we did a pretty eloquent job.
I don't think so. I mean, I think the real reason I'm not getting to Tyler Higbee is the boosts I'm putting on players like Diggs and similar salary ranges. If I'm looking at this as I want to spend about 10K on a tight end to be different in this lineup, I'm almost always getting to Dawson Knox, trying to get up there.
Mike Awesome, saying that I got an A+ on that. Sweeney Tom. I think that's one of the best nicknames you could possibly throw at somebody on the fly. 4 people understood it, but it's okay. Those 4 people are very, very happy right now. Guys, hit that like button here as we start discussing some other things, because right now it is what? 7:54 on the East Coast. We are less than 25 minutes. So we're almost 20 minutes away from kickoff right now. There's one other thing I need you guys to do, and that's head over to BetMGM right now. And I'm talking to a specific few of you because there's an unbelievable opportunity. If you live in the great states of Illinois, go, what is that? Fighting Illini. Go Kansas. So go Jayhawks. And Louisiana, go Tigers. Bet $10. Win $200 right now at BetMGM using this lovely promotion that's going to be popped up on the screen from our lovely producer, Jordan Klein. He's the absolute GOAT over there. But BetMGM, we have a live before lock betting offer for you guys right now. And bet $10, win $200. There are no strings attached. If either team scores a touchdown in this spot, which, spoiler alert, that's going to happen. This is not Iowa versus South Dakota State that's occurring today. So you have an opportunity to bet $10 to win $200 right now. So I would take advantage of that in Illinois, Kansas, or Louisiana. And all of you other beautiful states, you have a risk-free bet that you have an opportunity to get up to $1,000. So if you want to put $100 on the game tonight, you'll get $100 back, regardless of the outcome of that bet. If you want to put $1,000, go right ahead. It doesn't matter what amount of money. It doesn't matter what your name is. Up to $1,000 you can get as a risk-free bet for tonight. I would take advantage of that opportunity no matter what at BetMGM. Thank you so much to them for this amazing offer that is truly helping to put money into your pocket immediately.
And honestly, we should add too, Eric, that these little promos, they're not little at all, because when you sign up and you get these free offers, getting free money in sports betting in DFS or fantasy sports is really, really tough. So you have to take advantage of them systematically. And what's really great, especially this year, over the last year or so, there have been new products, new sports books, new states signing on. So even if you're just hearing these ads and you're like, all right, get to the rest of the positions. Let's go. And you're kind of tuning it out in your mind. But I really want to encourage you, take advantage, especially if you're a new state, of these sportsbook sign-ons, because if you play your cards right, and we'll help you over on Stokastic.com and the Odd Shopper channel, you could turn a small little gift like that they give you for signing on into huge winnings that could literally change how you're playing all your favorite fantasy sports, all your favorite betting games over the course of a few small wins.
Absolutely love it. Again, how much does your life or my life change if you guys use this promo code or not? 0% is the answer. Does not change anything for Matt and I. We are truly doing this because we want money to go into your pocket. You bet $10. $10, you're going to get $200 if either team scores a touchdown. Seems like a pretty good bet when you're getting 20-1 on something like that. So I'm truly just trying to help you. That really doesn't do anything for me. Let's go to the kicker position, shall we? We have Tyler Bass, Matt Gay. These are two phenomenally brief names, if you will, 8 letters and 7 letters. Cool. Super easy to see them in some lineups because kickers matter too. No discrimination here, Squirrel, in the old DraftKings Showdown and FanDuel lobbies. How do you feel about kickers on today's slate, considering the 51.5 or 52 total, depending where you're looking at?
Yeah, I think we should talk about kickers in general as a strategic option in showdown slates, right? Because kickers are weird if you're playing regular fantasy leagues, but they're actually very, very helpful in showdown environments, depending on what type of tournament you're playing. They are high floor, low ceiling options because Every team utilizes a kicker somewhat throughout a game, especially teams projected to score a whole lot of points. And Vegas is saying that the implied totals for both of these teams are high enough that each of these kickers are in play. The ceiling for those kickers, what they actually get in their 1% outcome, isn't really the same as it is for most skill position players, and certainly not the quarterbacks in their 1% outcomes. So you don't have to play for the absolute ceiling on every single player in every single lineup in every single tournament, but you have to know why you're doing it. So if I'm playing a cash game or a small field tournament and I'm looking for a floor, why not this 3,800 to 6K range, which is the most you would pay for a kicker at captain is 6K. I'm not doing that in anything but like a small field tournament. And I'm probably not doing that a whole lot, but I'm in a large field tournament, I'm rarely doing it at all.
So there are only 8 players on DraftKings, 8 in the entire game, that have a higher optimal appearance rate than Matt Gay does. There are only 10 players, including Matt Gay being one of them, that have a higher lineup appearance rate in the utility optimal than Tyler Bass. We're talking about positive leverage available by playing both kickers. They're both owned 18.7 and 19.1% respectively. Getting to more kickers in a game like this makes a lot of sense according to our tools, and I definitely echo that sentiment. I have nearly 29% of 29% exactly of Matt Gay. I have north of 30% of Tyler Bass right now. We're talking positive leverage to be had with both of them. Now, I will ask you, do you get to either one of them as a captain optimal?
That's what I was saying. Now I'm looking at
that's what you were talking about at the end
captain,
there. Yep.
And I'm not really doing it, right? Because when I'm putting them at captain, I'm saying they are getting that ceiling game. I'm literally saying that by putting them in that captain spot. And what I get out of that ceiling game, it isn't as much as the other players when they hit their 1% outcome.
0 kicker YOLO. Let me know how that goes long-term playing Showdown. I get it. I mean, a game like this, you have some pass catchers. I mean, if James Cook ends up more involved than what we think, he is 2,800 and he is going to be a real problem. If Zach Moss gets 2 rushing touchdowns, he's 3K. But these are 2 really big ifs for guys that I don't know what that workload's going to be. I know Tyler Bass and Matt Gay are going to kick every single field goal attempt, period, end of story.
The built-in floor. That's right.
There you go. So that's what it comes down to, is you have to kind of look at, you're sacrificing projection by going their direction to the guys that are a little bit cheaper, but it is what it is. You definitely could find paths for them working out optimal. We have we have a couple super chats. $2 from our guy El Negro Loco, the news god himself, Slash. Yeah, for those who don't know, once upon a time, Eric Lindquist took a razor to his eyebrow unintentionally, by the way. Wasn't even drunk, just a thing that happened in the world.
Like How I Met Your Mother, like with
I had
Jason
this
Segel's character.
Honestly, we've never had a better bonding moment than that one right there. How I Met Your Mother every single time. The pineapple. What happened to the pineapple? The people will never know. Ligarian Bridgewater, $5. Allen or Cup, DK Cash captain. So we're looking DK Cash. Who is your optimal captain here for DK Cash today?
Allen or Cup in DK Cash. Let me see what I've got.
And I'm assuming this is Josh Allen, because why wouldn't it be? I have Josh Allen optimal.
It's so close. It is so close, but I have Josh Allen. I actually have them like within a 1% in terms of expectation.
Yep. You're playing both in cash. It's just a question of which one you're playing in the captain.
Right.
Okay. That's good to know. Good to know. Appreciate you. Ligarian Bridgewater is one of the greatest names I've ever seen from a super chat in the history of super chats. Ligarian Bridgewater? Dude, that is my favorite name I've ever read out loud. Let's talk defenses, shall we? We have 13 minutes to go. I want to give you guys plenty of time to be able to build lineups on DraftKings and FanDuel. I want to give you plenty of time to sign up over at NHA using promo code Stokastic so you can get $25 first match deposit bonus. I want all those things for you, but I specifically want to ask Matt Savoca, more Rams or more Bills for defense if you're building more than one lineup?
I am building with more Bills. It scares me, but they're the favorite team. And ultimately, I'm just going with the way Vegas sees this one. The projection, actually, there's a surprising difference in the Stokastic projections today. Looking at these two defenses, obviously, variance is a thing, and it's huge. But there's a little bit bigger difference than I thought. And the fact that they're might be counterintuitive. The fact that they're more expensive means that more people will go away from them. And so if I'm looking to be different, which I am most likely in a large field tournament, getting up to the Bills, I think, is the sneaky good play. The Rams defense has playmakers all over the place. You know, Aaron Donald. We've been talking about Jalen Ramsey all over the place. And I think one way to build, say, like 5 lineups is the Rams actually just take this one, and people are completely underrating them compared to Buffalo. I'm just not going to do it that way today.
Yeah, for me, I have a couple of 5-1s on both sides where, you know, I'm obviously making a boatload of lineups, and I have some Bills and Rams where I do have a couple of 5-1s. I didn't think I was going to get to many 5-1s today. It didn't make a ton of sense because I do expect this game to be competitive. The spread's within 3. So blowouts far more likely when you're looking at a 10.5 or something kind of spread. It could be something like Baltimore and the Jets even where it's a 7-point game, but we can all see how Joe Flacco versus Lamar Jackson goes south very quickly. And you could build a 5-1 in that kind of a regard. Less so today, but I do have a couple, and it just comes down to having like a Diggs or a Cup as the only run back on the other side where they just get a ton of volume and they're getting blown out by 30, and you get to the defense of the other side. So got a couple of them, but it is a very, very rare type build for a game with a close spread, high total. I'm with you, though. I get a little bit more Bills, even if I do think the Rams win this football game, which is kind of interesting. I just think that they do have a little bit higher ceiling based on the fact that, like, Matt Stafford isn't going to be out there creating chaos with his legs a whole lot, but I see more pick opportunity, if you will, for Matt Stafford, if for whatever reason this elbow is a thing.
Yeah. And, you know, it's week 1. Maybe you're getting back in the swing of things. If you are using Fantasy Cruncher, our Fantasy Cruncher add-on, make sure that you are changing those settings so that you can get defenses with opposing offensive players, because by default, it will be turned on. So for our premium members who are using that, just make sure you check that off. And in terms of randomness, in terms of Showdown, spike it up, in my opinion, as high as you want.
For me, the most important thing is if you're playing these massive $3 25K to first on DK, if you're playing the Millie Maker, make sure you change the minimum projected calculation because it's at 3 by default. Make sure you change that to like 0.5 or 1. So you do get to a couple of those bottom end receivers because they have paths to work out optimal just by having 3 catches for 30 yards. Like that's a thing that Jake Kumaro can do for you. So make sure that you do have that lowered as well. Let me see what his default projection is. 1.14. You would get 0 of Jake Kumaro. You would get 0 of Brandon Powell. You would get some Tutu Atwell still because he's 4.2 for a projection at Stokastic. So take advantage of that as well. But great addition there, Matt. That's
you know where you don't have to worry about any of those settings? The new lineup generator over at stokastic.com.
Why don't we go have some fun over there, shall we?
Because
I think Jordan Klein wants to do that. Honestly, we love building lineups here on this show, and I think that that's going to be a really good way to do it here before we take a couple questions, get ourselves out of here before the 5:15, 8:15 if you're on the East Coast and have normal people time like Matt Savoca. I saw it in your eyes. I saw it right off the bat, the judgment. But look at this one right off the bat. Cooper Kupp, Matt Gay, Matthew Stafford, Stefan Diggs, Tutu Atwell. Oh, you're resetting it? Okay. All right, beautiful. We've got Stafford, Henderson, Knox, Singletary, Mckenzie, and Diggs. That one's going to be tough because the only pass catcher you have is Darrell Henderson with that. That's why you see it all the way to the left in terms of projection. But most of the time you're sacrificing projection at the altar of being different. Like we're always going to do that when it comes to Showdown lineups. So let's refresh that one. You got to use a little bit of logic in terms of the way that that's going to build out. But I think this next one is interesting because I know you said no captain for kicker for you, but if you were going to do it, why not do it with Stafford there? This is a fading Josh Allen lineup, which is definitely something that I've considered in a number of lineups, whether I want to fade Stafford and Allen. I think there are going to be so few lineups that don't have either Josh Allen in it or Stefan Diggs. This one has neither of them. If one gets hurt, if something goes wrong, this is not a duplicated lineup here.
Single entry mid to large field tournament to get real different here. And maybe even a small field tournament. I mean, yes, again, we're sacrificing projection, but the contrarian nature of this lineup is you can also tell the story of this lineup as well. I actually really like this one, and you get both Cup, Robinson. You're also fading Akers, I suppose, as well, and just assuming that the Los Angeles defense kind of neutralizes both Diggs and Gabe Davis, so they didn't hurt you.
Yeah, this NFL lineup generator is incredible. Props to Sky and a lot of our development team behind the scenes. So many new tools, pieces of content that are coming out here for you guys to actively use for the NFL season. The NFL lineup generator, just another part that you guys can use in your lineup building scheme, but save that lineup. We could save it. We could discard it. You can save all the lineups that you want to put in by hand. So you can now build lineups mobile. You can take a look and see what their projection and ownership is going to be. Now, that's going to be a more popular type build. Diggs, Akers, Knox, Singletary, McKenzie, Allen. That's going to be one that uses nearly 49.7. That's going to be something I would use in maybe a smaller field type tournament. So definitely something to always keep track of. But having the barometer for projection and for ownership, super helpful. If you're just making lineups mobile, what a time to do it here using that lineup generator. Take advantage of it. We do have a super chat here, my friends. We have Moose the King, just $1.
Thanks,
with
Moose.
Nothing behind it. Moose. Clownin 01, he's back for more. $5. Cook for captain. You, sir, have big balls. Me, I have tiny balls because I am not playing Cook at captain. So congratulations on that. Don't clip that, Jordan Klein. Matt Savoca, do you have any Cook at captain?
I have one, because why not? Because YOLO. But we're still talking about we're still talking about a day 2 pick in his first NFL game. There is a narrative, right, where, you know, Devin Singletary gets nicked up or something happens, and then suddenly James Cook, it's on. He's got 25 carries by the time he ends the fourth quarter, and he's already broken 2 big breakaway runs, and it's over. And you're getting different that way. If you played the game out 100 times, 1,000 times, ask yourself, what percentage chance does that really happen? I'd say it's probably below 5%. I'd say it's probably below 3%, but it's not 0. Take that as you will. Consider the lineup in the tournament that you're building around, and play Cook and the captain if you want.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance.
It all comes full circle. See, these shows all come full circle, baby. We're back. It's like we never left, Matt Savoca. It's like we never left. It's just tip to tip, if we will. Shout out Greg Ehrenberg for everybody out there. Half the people here, we have 1.3K people. We didn't have 1.3K people hanging out watching MLB. So some people are very, very confused. Ball DDO. Yeah, I said it. Tiny balls. Women don't care. They don't ask about the balls. It's fine. Jordan Klein, please ask Matt to save my seat for me. I don't know what that means.
Did I not save your seat? Oh shit! I'm sorry.
We're bringing personal drama into the workplace.
I blocked it out. Yeah, because he said, "Should I just break this down?" We're at the Cubs game. We're at the Cubs game as a crew. This Jordan Klein character, producer Jordan, had 1 or 2 drinks the night before.
No,
and it's like the 5th or 6th inning, and he goes, "Oh man, save my seat." 8th inning comes around. I go, "This guy's not coming back. I'm saving the seat for no one." I've been given a task, a mindless task for no reason. This man is gone. He has exited Wrigley Field. The friendly confines are vacated. I stayed. I was the last one in. I was the last one in the bleachers, Jordan.
Are you done? I'm 55 years old. That was the longest story ever. But I'm here for it. I enjoyed it. You know why? Because Jordan, SMDH, yes, Nolan Kelly, absolutely. Sham wow of a friend. That is what you are. Guys, we have 3 minutes until NFL is officially back. It is so beautiful, and it was so great to have all of you. The nicest way that you can show your appreciation is hitting that like button, and then secondly, of course, hanging out with our friends over at No House Advantage here, getting that $25 for free when you sign up and deposit $25 or more over at No House Advantage using promo code Stokastic. So take advantage of it. Right now, there are less than 1,500 in a tournament of 3,000. That is massive overlay that we're talking about for Thursday Night Football. I would take advantage of that. If you do anything else in the 3 minutes, it is signing up and playing more entries in that. But anything else that you want to talk about, Matt, in terms of your lineups, in terms of like what you really think is going to happen tonight? Who do you pick to win tonight's game? In fact,
I got the Bills. I thought they were the best team in the NFL the last time we saw them on the field, and they messed up for 13 seconds.
Yep.
But I think they are certainly in contention to be the absolute best team. And I do think there's one player we didn't really talk about. Not that I'm super high on him, but in the range of outcomes for this team, him scoring 2 touchdowns, kind of plopping into the end zone. I'm talking about Zach Moss. We have 6 to 7 points as a reasonable projection for him. If he got 10 to 14, not the craziest thing in the world. It's probably the third option, but they're probably going to use all 3 backs today. And, you know, I'm excited to watch this one. I realized, too, that don't we have like a playback stream with Eitan Shander tonight as well?
We do. And also, Lock just got pushed back another 5 minutes on DraftKings. So we have 5:20 is going to be the time that it locks. We'll get out of here in 2 minutes. But here's what you're going to do, because, I mean, if you guys want to still hang out with some of the Stokastic crew right now, the place to go do it is playback with Eitan Shander now full-time.
This thing is so cool.
Full-time Eitan Shander.
And
you can watch
Eitan.
the game live right now over at Playback. If you guys haven't had a chance to sign up over there yet either, you get to watch the game in real time. You can use your cable account and you can sign up for free over there at Playback. You sign up over at www.getplayback.com/room/Stokastic. It's on the screen there. Just do that. Sign up for Playback, authenticate your TV provider, and join the fun. Yay, Eitan Shander. That is a lovable face if I've ever seen one. I would want to go hang out there, and I would if I didn't have a baseball VOD to do until infinity o'clock with my friend Jordan Klein tonight. Looking forward to it. But you guys absolutely need to go watch the football game with Eitan, and he's going to have some friendly faces stopping by. So if you guys love Stokastic crew and everybody here, go watch Playback with Eitan in this entire game. But we're going to get ourselves out of here, Matt. Any final words for the people as we head off for the 2022 NFL season?
Just thank you so much for being here, guys. Honestly, just so happy to be doing this, be talking about football again, and we're just so happy you're here as well. Let's win some money.
Let's go win some money. That's a great send-off. Use the BetMGM promo. Use the No House Advantage promo. Use everything. And also, head over to Matt Savoca's baby, his long-standing fantasy football channel over there. Stokastic Fantasy Football, as well as the Best Ball channel, because Best Ball is not going anywhere. It's here to stay, especially for the playoffs when that comes back around. Thank you to Jordan Klein. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets tonight.